on. This quest is fucking impossible. I don't have oil. I can't repair them. Oh, come on, reload. 10%? We're 1/10 of the way through? Oh no, this is bad. I'm getting in the bomb field. I'm hiding out. Don't come in here. The general is on. I had my suspicions, but it didn't. Get to 20%. It was over. The dream was dead. I lost the war. But you know what I hate more than following my own arbitrary rules? You know what I hate more than accepting defeat? That ugly blimp. Those annoying helicopters. The inconceivably overpowered weaponized accountants of the Institute. I may not be an Iron Man, a Bronze Man, a Pit Man, a Cowboy, but I'm a man. I'm a Minuteman, damn it. And a Minuteman needs an army. Everybody spread out. Get into the formation we talked about. McCready formation. What formation? We discussed this in basic training. They still haven't seen us? Okay, we're hidden. Buddy, I like to call this the Invisalign. Huh? Everybody stay calm. Welcome to the army. Let's go, Roger. Thanks. Soldiers, today begins our official first day execution military of the Commonwealth. Let's go, Mickey boy. Okay, everybody get out of the elevator. You're not fighting efficiently. Spread out. Anything that moves. Oh, God. Charging. Push. Come on. Can you open that thing? Oh, hold it down.
Careful!
Please, I'm not worth it. I'm out of ammo. Thank you, Kate. Keep me alive. I'm gonna get behind them. I feel so compromised. Oh, there's more. Don't hit me. Let me cover. No, they're hitting me. Strong. You're heading out. Let me just...
Engaging Chinese aggressors.
Only finish.
What are you doing?
Protect me. Nice. Oh my God, this is way too much.
What? What? Well, don't leave him on the ground or doggy's gonna chew him up. What? What? Okay.
Looking for trouble.
Sort over the next part.
Sun goes down.
I got no idea. So, we're back to square one, which means ethically sourcing a loadout from scratch. One father, one child, camping and surviving in the wilderness. I need your stuff.
Maybe constantly
I
trying to
need your
kill us.
shit and I need it right now.
I'm going to assign someone to this.
Preston, be a little bit less casual. Just a little bit less casual, Preston. Okay, they are. For a second, I was like, oh no. Technologically advanced society. A t-shirt, a cowboy hat. This guy showed up in his grandpa's jacket with a pipe pistol. Preston has enough clout to where he can roll around in bathrobes. You cannon fodder, get out on the front line. They're so accurate. Got him. Headshot. Got him. Let's let the hot dog of compressed meat have it. Plastic casing of this hallway. Okay, soldier. But I really can't respect your sacrifice all that much when you came in here in a fucking flannel. You came in a flannel. Don't worry, honey. I'll be back a war hero. Our daughter is gonna grow up worshiping the sacrifice that I made for our people. Are you gonna bring a helmet? Nah, my Ushanka hat will do. Grandpa's Ushanka cap will protect me. I lucked out. We got the courser, we pushed through, we got to the end of the Institute dungeon. It was really stressful, small brag, but after the courser went down, I didn't die the remainder of the entire dungeon. So yeah, you haters out there who want to hate on my game prowess, take that. Okay, alright, I forgot about this part. So I'm not going to...
Excuse me.
You want to do some trading?
Fraud, Sean. Yeah, look out. Oh, no, that's gonna break my game, isn't it? You're all here to burn. Ooh, alright, he's back. Now burn him alive.
I can't believe it. I hate you.
Oh, I was looking the wrong way. Wow, the first time ever on the channel, for the first time in the history of Juve on YouTube, we have beaten Fallout 4. Happy birthday, Fallout 4, on Fallout 4's birthday. Wow. And we made incredibly good time. God, this theme song goes so fucking hard. Right on, Zur is my king. Hey, wait, we did not do that to Sanctuary. What the hell is that?
Couldn't have said it better myself, you know.
Reese went around the other side. We can flank Reese. You are now enemies with the Brotherhood of Steel. Alright, now we get out of here. Off the roof. Cool guy escape. 360. Landed. It's beautiful.
Hey.
My primary function is to create a balance and avoid a war.
What do you want?
I need to assign someone to this.
You in the spotlight?
I need to assign someone to this. 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 Seems to be growing well. Ada.
A pleasure to see you again, sir. Are you ready to depart?
Not very efficient. Actually, I'll be back.
Understood. Would you like me to go with you?
I need to assign someone to this. Ada.
A pleasure to see you again, sir. Are you ready to depart?
Whatever. Actually, I'll be back later.
Understood.
I need to assign someone to this. I just want to trade a few blisters.
Can it wait?
Just wanted to trade a few things.
Sure.
I'm all for taking all we can.
From the power it has over them. system.
Yeah. It explains why he attacked the clearing capital offices. He doesn't want cash. He wants chaos. What exactly did he make you see?
Just Camilla in danger. What about you? What did you see? If it does, if there's like a clue or something in what you saw, there isn't. You don't know that. And eventually, what if he's too powerful and I can't stop him?
Barry, no one said.
You didn't have to. Maybe Sykes gonna destroy this whole city and everyone in it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Trying to reconnect the transmitter to the output circuit. Turns out I'm better at breaking things than I am at fixing them. Do you want to tell me what scared you so much when Psych whammied you? Come on, please share a brain. I know you don't scare easy. I was under a really strong.
you could do that on a bigger scale.
No. Hey, Barry, I could barely broadcast one emotion across a roof.
Now let's get you some help.
Are you insane?
I know it sounds crazy,
I
but
wonder what
to help build this
now.
chair to expand his mental capacity on a massive scale.
And it turned into a supervillain.
Because you're going to use it to save the city.
Let me out. Let me out. I can't take it. Do it. Can you hear me? Feel connected to your mind. Whatever you're seeing.
You got us all killed, Barry.
I trusted you. Why did you save me?
When you let me die, you killed our children too.
There she is. He's caught inside this nightmare. He's lost.
I'm diverting all satellite power to the comms.
Listen to me, Barry. I have to get through this.
Cisco, I don't know if I can. Yes, you can.
You're a coward, Barry Allen. All because of
Too afraid to open your eyes.
Frontal cortex is healing, but the hard to control motor controls. Traces Psycho, where's that?
By the way, at least now we have proof we're connected. But I struck Psych with my lightning. He shook it off easy, but just for a minute. The lightning stayed with him. Was it glowing? Yeah. Same thing happened when you fought for Mirza. I threw everything I had at them. We all did. They just kept going for more. What's wrong with you?
Jared did most of the work, but thanks.
I don't know. You kick some pretty serious psychic ass out there.
You ever just sort of feel sorry for the poor bastards who fight us? They don't stand a chance.
They're gonna be my mistake. I thought we got the ball. Can you be honest with me? Fair enough.
The orders of the governor, like we're recovery. Whether it cost. And quite frankly, it's about time someone addressed a long-standing issue. This prison. Better, I think. Barry's system was open and strange. Found
Psyker, where's our route of attack right now? We're totally on our own.
because I wasn't fast enough. Laura, its physical form is new for me. I didn't know its limitations. I can feel how weak he still is. How weak he still are. This is backed by a powerful metapsychic. I showed him his great sphere. And it seems psychic was the second of my attackers.
Where's that can psych?
Who are they? I think they're just like me. Jester 100 years ago. strength I can to heal.
Repairs? You seem authentic.
Which means I'll be able to live longer. Same controllers that attacked you. Exactly. Do you remember what happened? Only some of it. When I was reborn, I was surrounded by light and love. Then came the pain. I could feel these forces of nature were like me now. I'm not sure. But I think it's to feed. That's why I had to find Miriam. I thought he could keep me safe until I could recover. But the forces find me in this condition. Survive the attack. Somehow.
Henry Jester. Wow, so here's the actual full encompassing, immeasurably interstellar, mind bending the cosmos.
I am looking for it.
Chess, man. How's that isotope detection system coming along?
Yeah, actually. She does.
She does.
Okay. Behold this. That's what kind of satellites. Now all we need to do is build a few units, place them around the outskirts of the city, and Eureka!
And we would get an early warning if Psycho Mars is decided to.
And it's to detect foundational isotope signatures. So we would just know where they're going.
No. Whoever it is, Psycho Mars out. Could we use this to follow the other forces? Perhaps find them before they find us?
Not yet. Right now, they don't know what But at least now we have a way to help protect you.
How long would it take to make enough amplifiers?
We have everything we need in the Star Labs van, so we could build them as we go.
So let's do this, baby. Because Team Chess goes on the case.
Ready to press. It's great, yeah. It's a really good place in the country. Sorry, you want to bring that in here? Yeah, that empty wall behind you? Driving me crazy. What they say. Great line. What do you think? Strong reaction. It does.
Sensor is ready.
Excellent. Once the amplifier goes live, then our early warning system will be a go. That means it's time for Poppy and a Cronut.
Copy and Corona. Actually, this is actually decent, bro. Or was back in the day. Oh, I used to live there. But Grandma Rock and I moved to when I was in high school. So we're ready to go? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just been under the dome.
Nora? Alright? Yeah. Just making sure nothing happens, Mary. How do you deal with all this? It's never easy dealing with a threat, especially when it affects someone that you care about. Don't worry, okay? By this time tomorrow, Mary will be back to his old self. Wrapped him on the couch, full BBB style. BBB, Mary's blanket burrito. It's perfect. No, I understand. It's something tiny.
Yeah, it's cool.
Actually, you know what? It doesn't have to be. I'll show you something. Come with me.
We made it. Now, close our last before. Tell me you're seeing what I'm seeing. Does it have anything to do with Space Jam being back in stock?
At that blockbuster video that doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah. Get this. I saw a Dippin' Dash logo back there that got torn down when I was in high school. I think we just time traveled. Really? So, tonight we're gonna party like it's 1990.
None of the payphones work. We don't have cell phones. We're trapped in an invisible barrier. We are stuck in the 90s? Yo, this is epic. Epic. It is easy. Okay, cheesy. Is this freaking awesome? Yes. We desperately need to figure out a way to get back home. Also, yes.
How are we supposed to do that without a DeLorean?
That's all. This here. Green energy wave that looks like it came straight out of Chernobyl. You know, like Will's Revenge. I think.
That happens.
I'll say. Maybe we're not dealing with that at all. The amplifier showed an isotopic surge.
Yeah, okay, we gotta get out of here. I'm with you.
Up against how this wave moves acid, the amplifiers track forces. If we added a transmitter diode to the sensor,
We could localize the isotopic circuits enough to detect the new force within the yard radius.
right, we need the kind of mixed up receiver that just doesn't exist here.
Let's have a little shock.
Oh, I'm not hungry.
I can't believe you just used jump to fix our sensor.
I just think of it as one repurposed full spine. Oh, recipe.
It's always fascinating watching you breathe.
Damn, that was like the unicorn.
All right. Let's find ourselves a time gun. The high school says
Jester seems to think they're in here somewhere. Let's do this. Yo. For real? Masonville's principal suffers 0 points going. Alright, then we just sneak in. Simple. We gotta blend in. We gotta kick it up a notch. This is how we do it. You don't carry the tube. Hey, dog, check it out. Parents got it for me. Said they want the NFL to be able to hit me up anytime. Got it for me. Yeah. Nice deal. You know, in the future, I want to be just like the, state championship tomorrow. You okay, Slipper? Sounds bouncy. Well, that's not it. See what the future is. Yo!
shielded him away, just like you. We're back on Main Street. And before the wave hit, Parker said, it's gonna start over. Got a call. It's a time loop. This isn't about changing the future, it's about reliving one day in the war. Parker will come be reset. Why didn't you get with me? I think the sensor absorbed the temporal energy and shielded me. By the looks of it, that's not happening. Fix it. Otherwise, if the loop resets, we won't be shielded. Remember that we're stuck in the past.
Like is, like Lil loves. It's out of our ears. How does swallowing himself down? Well, it's not about the blanket. It's more like wrapping himself in the memories of the comfort associated with war. It's like being hugged by a warm, loving arms. His mother made it for him. He doesn't really talk about her much. They were so close. Being reminded of what happened, he's forced to think about that night. Violence, I call it. Seems like that. And I wish I could take that away from him, but I can't.
What? I need to take you to the bathroom? You need to go pee? What are you doing? Did you pee in your... Why'd you pee in your thing? You want me to wake mommy? Wake mommy, tell her that you peed in your things. You need to poop? You said you need to poop? Go! Or you freaking poop on the floor and I have to clean that up. Go! God. Should whoop your ass. Why didn't you go to the bathroom? You didn't even tell Dad that you needed to go. You just went. Oh, you're sorry. I don't think you are. You're gonna be sorry when I whoop your butt, right? Give me your shoes. Here. This is the front. Put it on like that. Come on. 'Cause look, your brother's up here now. Pull him up. Go. Downstairs. Come on. Come here. Are you gonna lay down here, DJ? You gonna lay on your bed? Huh? Is that where you peed? Maybe I need to take your phone. Should I take your phone? Huh? Take your phone? Come on, you're laying down here? Huh? You got that? God.
I am sick and tired of you eating all them cereal samples. But I love those bite-sized sugary morsels. Yeah, well, you've had enough sugary morsels for one lifetime. Look, Leo, you may be my wife's kid brother and all, but this is the last time I cover for you. Wow, look at that guy talking. How come that guy never figured it out? Get this straight, Leo. This here's leave this carnival with boxes of cereal. You'll never work in show business again. with a giant gaping hole beneath it. What's more, its positioning halfway down a hill means we can place strategical turrets on the eastern side, but attacks from the west have a very distinctive advantage of height. And after the next-gen update added hostile enclave camps around the Commonwealth, the one located right next to here only serves to add to the pre-existing
At least the pay is terrible.
death clause. Now, the settlement could be salvageable in terms of quality if we could, salvage it and start again. And aside from the huge eyesore of the fish packing plants, the place does provide a nice view of the coastline. But Bethesda's insistence that Coastal Cottage is destined to remain a dilapidated ruin, unlike Sanctuary, say, where we could actually scrap houses that are beyond repair. Now, we could just build a platform over the top of all of this stuff and enjoy the location, but as you can see, we don't even have that much more height allowance whilst doing this. So, save yourself the time and just go build somewhere else. Okay, Homeplate isn't really a settlement, say. It's more of a Skyrim-style player home, albeit one that we have to decorate ourselves. No paying to furnish rooms one by one. And honestly, the problem is, I'm never going to properly do that. A, because there's far more exciting settlements out in the Commonwealth on which to build huge structures and supply chains, and B, because we can't establish a supply chain to Homeplate. Meaning, we have to meticulously travel to another settlement and grab whatever building supplies we need from the grand unified stash to furnish our Diamond City home. I suppose we can at least fast travel directly into Homeplate though, and it does offer a useful amenity of storage directly in Diamond City, if we become over-encumbered with items, say. There's also, usefully, a power armor frame, because who knows when you'll be in Diamond City and need some power armor for some reason, and the house also comes equipped with technically an unlimited power supply. In fact, you'll notice there's no resource menu across the top of the screen at all. There's no settlers to manage, this is purely a do-it-yourself house with about zero charm. So, for 2,000 caps from Geneva in the mayor's office, is Homeplate worth it? I mean, if you don't have any Creation Club homes especially, then yeah, go on, why not? Cafe owner is a diner located in Boston that will unlock with the Nuka-Cola Collector Workshop from the Creation Club. Now, this thing is more of a building item pack, really, than a settlement, which is effectively full of additional Nuka-Cola themed decor, and what this cafe really serves as is a player home showing all of it off. I mean, sure, we can access a build menu and customize to our heart's content, as well as store whatever we want in here, and whilst this place comes a lot more decorated out the box than Homeplate, it otherwise suffers with much the same issues, namely an inability to chain it to our other settlements, thus forcing us to manually go and grab whatever else we need. Though, again, there is at least inside. Otherwise, we're dangerously close to Swan's Pond, and the Institute janitor turned behemoth that lies within. The settlement area of Boston International Airport is easily one of the smallest and most limiting in the entire game, not allowing you to farm food or, recruit settlers. We can send settlers here from other locations, but really, this balloon out the hangar is more allocated for the purposes of Brotherhood-related build objectives, namely constructing the Signal Interceptor, if using the Brotherhood for that, and the 4 electromagnetic actuators for the Liberty Crime quest. And by that reckoning, this is more our personal on-site Brotherhood workshop than anything resembling a settlement, hence its placements down here on the list. With that said, the build height limit of 7 stories is kind of generous for a place of this size, and ample for anyone who wanted to build a small mansion cozied up next to arguably one of the safest places. Claim it again after violently resolving that dispute. Another Creation Club player home now, Charlestown Condo is located right around the corner from Bunker Hill and literally right across the road from the platform of the USS Constitution. Now, there's a very small quest on
previous discoverer who'd been killed whilst out on a supply run. In his last message, he's teeming with excitement at having discovered an actual nice home in the Commonwealth, and actually sleeping in a proper pre-war bed. And I suppose at least he got to experience that before he dies. Grab his key and the condo is ours, and inside are 4 floors of a nicely decorated pre-war home, including a diner, living area, and bedrooms. It's not my favourite Creation Club player home, but similar to Shroud Manor, which we'll get to, it's got kind of a cabot house vibe to it, albeit cozier than that mansion. I'm particularly a fan of the double bed that it adds, at least I think it's this mod that adds it, and we can build this at other settlements too. In fact, it's kind of weird that we couldn't build double beds at all in the vanilla game to begin with. There's also plenty of storage office, a fairly large open space on the 2nd floor for whatever we want, but probably best of all is the place's proximity to Bunker Hill, where we can literally walk around the corner to for supplies to set up whatever else we want to in this place, if using it as more of a home. At 300 credits, it is the cheapest Creation Club home, and hey, it needs home place. So if you're desperately wanting something like this in your game and want to spend the least amount possible, then I guess go do that. Or else you could just build a house in an actual settlement. Now, unless you're Shrek, to be fair, it doesn't look too dissimilar from a super mutant, I'm really not sure why you'd opt to settle at this next one. The Murkwater construction site is a patch of swampland to the south that some pre-war planning committee had looked at and said, yes, let's build here. I mean, in fairness, they'd already pumped a school in this place and forced the students to eat pink sludge, so this isn't too much of a stretch to believe. I think it's more the fact that the school survivor then looks at this abandoned ruin and also goes, yes, let's finish it up. Not only is it a dreary wet bog, but it's also the actual spawn location of a Nihilum Queen. What's more, if you have the Vortex DLC, it's pretty close to that far superior settlement. This all said, claiming it does allow us to scrap a decent supply of the most abundant resource in the game, wood, and we can place a large-scale water purifier. Plus, the build height limit of 7 stories isn't ungenerous, and maybe we could build some sort of Shrek-themed swamp hut or something. Ranking higher than the 34th best field. There's a reward for the accompanying quest, and come to collect multiple bedrooms, bathrooms, all rooms from secret attics, and an entire underground office. Housing enough pre-war money to possibly pay for a game of bowling at the General Atomics Galleria. The whole thing was owned by Northwell supports prior to the war, who had a huge obsession with the sort of scraps. And designing the property to be a particularly large. And again, same as with the other player homes, we do have the right to build and scrap first. Target acquired. Based on the Cambridge Centre somewhere above the internet. And it's going to take some possible science to explain the size discrepancy between the interior and exterior, with the shape patterns, with the surrounding That's what I said. I like that. Home and things and how it relates to them. It takes for just north of Diamond City, situated within a distance of it, in fact, so we can find Hangman Alley, a fortified passageway initially inhabited by raiders with their crude displays of victims around outside, without being the origin of the name. It's a very simple again, simply go in, kill the raiders, then claim it for yourself. And with that done, we're now the proud owners of an alleyway. It's a pretty limited alleyway, there's not much we can do with it, but it's our alley all the same. It would be good if we could build up for the rooftop, place system, but the game wouldn't let us build time. So instead, we sort of have to resort to being of sorts for the area. I mean, it's got a good filter system, in fact, and I guess its survival mode is the easiest settlement to get to from Diamond City. But technically, I think given the pre-existing aesthetic, it would make the most sense to serve as a world outpost. Located on the eastern spit of Enhanced and family prior to the war in 2077. These guys had fallen into a bit of debt before the war and had been desperately hoping for it to clear away. Of course, in an ironic twist of fate, the debt would disappear along with the entire civilized world. And despite the glowing sea being another part of the map, it appeared possibly due to how exposed this house was to the blast of the this radiating and coolifying a family transforming the Theodore for the next 2 years, Theodore attempted persistently to re-educate his family out of their feral states. Ferals don't tend to attack other ghouls, so Theodore was safe through this, until one day it appears and snaps, namely after 200 years, lashing out first to aggro his relatives, and finally spamming his demise. This all occurs though, just in time for us, the sole survivor, to rock up and climb through clearing the ferals and restoring it to prosperity. Well, except for the prosperity part, because again, we're landed with a dilapidated mansion, which once we can tax stuff onto, you can either properly repair or scrap the pre-existing ruin bits. And given how badly building parts gel with existing terrain, we get a combination of this one, with settlers getting crawled into the floor. Now, there is a generous 11 build height, so we could, if we wanted, build a Nahant tower, but that will either mean reconstructing on top of the mansion or around the outside. It doesn't really stretch beyond this. So a cool bit of wall building, but also a little bit settlement next. Oakland Station is located a ways north. It shouldn't be too difficult to fortify. You can't build too high with this. It's nothing special as far as settlements go, though it is the only settlement in the vanilla game to attract the interest of citizens. At any rate, it's right next to where the Zeta ship tracks land at level 20 and the cave that the alien retreats to. And that's about the most memorable thing for this one, really. I mean, the settlement itself isn't horrible, it just doesn't really have anything special about it. Right down in the southwest now, some of the place's main strategic advantage is its proximity to the North Sea, while lies small plot of land that occupies and comprised of a dilapidated but still functioning house on a existing coast. Not too far away, we have FO4, which is infested to the brim with both drugs and gunners, whilst there's also the very malware-ridden Atlas Bench and the super-mutant inhabited Scrap Palace a ways to the north. And without even mentioning the Death Claw horrors and possibly worse, southwest in France. Checkpoints for whenever we're heading in next. That though, it's another mediocre shack with not really any works. County Crossing is a nice little settlement of neutral farmers pitched a little northeast of Boston, not too far away from Bunker Hill. It's a relatively flat, rectangular patch of land which, aside from the shell of an old building, provides a nice bit of scope to construct some kind of structure. And to anybody considering building a tall tower, this isn't a bad choice of location, as we can see from the 12-story build heights. So, whilst not providing us with much to begin with, save a nice supply of meat fruits, County Crossing does have development potential, though looking at it from a more canonical
practical perspective, I would scrap the neutral farm entirely, given the heavy radioactive shells of a reactor plant positioned literally right across the road. I mean, I get that nowhere in the wasteland is safe, but really? Here? I mean, I guess maybe it was warm for the settlers or something. In fact, if you're not going to build here, then another good option would be to make this settlement pay tribute, burying its livingly grown irradiated meat fruits off to supply our raid settlements. Okay, this next Creation Club home is actually seriously nice. Let me introduce the Noir Penthouse. And as far as story goes, this is a repurposed Institute safe house that's obviously been done up. Not just a pre-war, but millionaire pre-war standards. If you ever wanted to live in a penthouse above Western, then this is there's a quest night to it as well. Chasing out effectively the prize. This. Same as the other player rooms, then it's more a home than settlements, but with one big difference that really makes the aesthetic for me. The windows are real. That's a low-res render of content, and as such, the lighting in this place will adhere to the daylight cycle, which looks particularly incredible with the new DMB that I've installed. Plus, since we can fast travel directly in and out of here, I think it's enjoyable to spend time in to actually make something of it. And remind me, in fact, of the apartment mountains in 77, which I also twice. Of course, it still suffers from not having any settlement venues or pretty much the way of building next to it. So it's nicer anyway, but the locations out there, that bumps it up several spots. I'm not inciting you to go and buy it, it's 600 credits, but regardless, I am pretty impressed with it. And it felt like something from a more modern game.
Cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged, cool. Choose chill.
So take pretty much everything I just said about the Noir Penthouse and place it into a renovated apartment complex in good neighbor called the Neon Flats. Created by the same guy as Noir Penthouse, this one follows a similar storyline. This time about an AI that, in a shocking twist that has never been done before, uses the thing itself, and us chasing it down across the Commonwealth, really to reactivate the building and access to the cold club. I hope, which again and this one overall has even more of a style to it than first. Perhaps that's why I marginally prefer it, though I will say the lighting is better in the Noir Penthouse, but with an additional secret office found in this one, as well as a whole other floor in fact, featuring a small bare bones apartment designed to our heart's content. This whole place just has a little more going for it. And besides, why not also have a house in good neighbor? The third rail bar is also literally visible from just outside our window now, and all in all, this place is awesome. And personally, makes me feel right at home. Located on a peaceful northern hillside, Tempine Bluff is one of the first settlements with food earlier on with its pre-existing potato farm. Other than that though, this one's pretty bare bones, with an utterly tiny shack and a small room for the farm. Which, to be fair, is in some sad condition, but it's actually not too much of a problem to just rebuild the wall entirely, providing another immediate residence for the settlers. There's a little more room on the hillside for more of them to be built, but already we are very much points, and doesn't really much more prepared for outposts and it's certainly a nice feeling, as IRL could make for a good vineyard, though there's other settlements so more like this. Not too far inside the town region is a nice settlement and a sanctuary for house. In fact, it's one of quite a few settlements around this area. This left from covenants
Who's there?
close-ish neighbors, even closer neighbors to the green pop nursery that boosted up barrels of waste. I mean, you could ask for better neighbors. Now, the 8 story building is okay for 45,000 but it's already occupied a rectangle of building space, so really just make this more of a location to drop supplies and
Seems to be growing well.
ready to go from to ship to your settlements. A reward, if you will, for completing the Ultimate DLC. This is located deep under a wall of building, I mean, arguably, this place is better guarded and fortified than the complex walls. And despite being a cave, no view of any planet save for a rule of robo rooms if we can, unlike our player homes, it's still established supply routes here for one of two purposes, as far as I'm concerned. If you're a huge fan of the robot crafting mechanic, then of course, this is a particularly optimal place for which to carry out our robot construction operations. Not really to the level of efficiency, but there's plenty of relevant salvage about the place to aid in this endeavour. Otherwise, I'd still recommend setting up a supply line and then scrapping the incredible amount of supplies found down here for our above ground settlements, namely a lot of steel. And to be fair, we can carve out most of this chambers in a structure to build whatever we want. Effectively, it's like an inferior building gates, where but its existence does allow us, in a sense, to become a mechanist of our own if we so choose, and its placement on the list is mostly down to its vast resources. I think that there's some settlements just begging to be recaptured by the Nuka World Raiders, and the first place I took on their behalf was Outposts of Munja, or Zamora. That sounds more right, doesn't it? Formerly a raider camp anyway, based around its strong feature signal tower, which sadly we can't utilize to further broadcast Nuka World's fear-mongering. But we can build up to it. In fact, this place's generous build heights of 11 or 12 stories is another big redeeming quality, perfect for building a watchtower set, for paying the hands to the south so that we can pay tribute to their radar overlords. I don't know, it's either that or just another little farm for your settlers, but we have the worst view than 10 by bluff, which you can find just over the hill. Buried underneath the town, and what's coming to the quest that's a baseball bat capable of utterly invincible. There's also a small available to serve settlements. You know, a big reason for the Raiders having to begin the fight for paper playing balls in 200 years, aside from general backstabbing, it's one of the moments of feral bulls in the town. Like, seriously, this is a tough, relentless battleground early in the game, but with ghouls, or at least the ones around the settlement area, we can find the degree of houses at the southern end. Not really as exciting as having other towns and caravans that seem to force them all the time. It's a busy settlement. Though, as far as the scope for what we can build goes, we can't actually go higher than the existing houses, really. And something that feels like a big oversight from Bethesda is this house plunked right in the middle that can neither be entered nor scraps. I mean, like, okay, just sure, take away a good chunk of building space. So pretty big points on the location, but mark it down again a bit for the lack of prospects to, you know, actually build anything. Heading over to the island of Far Harbor for this next one, the National Park Visitor Center is the ancestral family home of Uncle Ken, whose forefathers have inhabited it for 7 generations, during which time owners built to sweep up these debris piles or fix the damage in the walls. And sadly, we can't clear a lot of that mess either, in the main building at least. With that said, the center does come equipped with some rooms to begin with, and a sort of turret area on top of the building, which is excellent for repelling attackers that frequently come down from the hill above. In fact, that's exactly what we have to do in order to unlock this place during the rest of the holdouts, which will be eschewed by Mitch in the last farm over in Far Harbor. And whilst it's tougher to see due to the constant fog, the centre offers a generous amount of building space, including a very full car park at the north end, which is much more readily equipped for new builds. Story, those nights really raises the ceiling quite literally for what we could potentially construct. But aside from the flat area, it's not got as many quirks as the other Funtime settlements, and seems to be particularly foggy with the time. Some of the clearer shots you're seeing were actually obtained with this console command, which is basically the clear sky ships from Skyrim. Bunker Hill is first and foremost one of the largest trading posts in the Commonwealth, headed up by traders, and Fallout 4 has a ton of different settlements, 37 areas across the Commonwealth and beyond that we can edit to our heart's content, from player homes and tiny hamlets all the way up to entire islands and underground ports. In this video, we're taking a detailed look at every settlement in the vanilla game, as well as creation club homes just for good measure, then weighing up the pros, cons, and attributes of each before we decide what's best. Hopefully, you'll get a good idea of the best settlements to construct your own projects, so without further ado, let's dive right in.
Play.
Time to run up away. Please do not the cottage, or accurately, the coastal wreckage, with the cottage parts, as it were, being very much an unsalvageable shell with a giant gaping hole beneath it. What's more, with its positioning halfway down the hill, meaning we can place strategical turrets on the eastern side that attacks from the west have a very distinctive advantage. Heights. And, after the next-gen updates added hostile enclave camps around the Commonwealth, the one located right next to here only serves to add to the pre-existing hostilities of Death Force. Now, the settlement could be salvageable in terms of quality if we could, salvage it and start again. And aside from the eyesore of the macrofish hacking plants, the place does provide a nice view. Unlike Sanctuary, where we could actually scrap houses that are beyond repair. Now, we could just build a platform over the top of all of this stuff and enjoy the location, but as you can see, we don't even have that much more height allowance once doing this. So, take yourself the time and just go build somewhere else. Okay, Homeplate is really a settlement set. It's more of a Skyrim-style player home, albeit one that we have to decorate ourselves. No paying to furnish rooms one by one. And honestly, the problem is, I'm never going to properly do that. A, because there's far more exciting settlements out in the Commonwealth on which to build huge structures and supply chains, and B, because we can't establish a supply chain to Homeplate, meaning we have to meticulously travel to another settlement and grab whatever building supplies we need from the grand unified stash to furnish our Diamond City home. I suppose we can at least fast travel directly into Homeplate though, and it does offer the more useful amenity of item storage directly in Diamond City, if we become over-encumbered with market items, say. There's also, usefully, power armor strength, because who knows when you'll be in Diamond City and need some power armor for some reason. And the house also comes equipped with technically an unlimited power supply. In fact, you'll notice there's no resource menu across the top of the screen at all. There's no set list to manage. This is purely a do-it-yourself house with about 0 charge. So, 2,000 caps from Geneva and the mayor's office, it's have any creation homes, especially, then yeah, go on, why not? New Cafeola is a diner located in Boston that will
Cancel.
themed decor, and what the cafe really serves as is a player home showing all of it off. I mean, sure, we can access a build menu and customize to our heart's content, as well as store whatever we want in here. And whilst this place comes a lot more decorated out the box than Homeplate, it otherwise suffers with much the same issue, namely an inability to chain it to our other settlements, thus forcing us to
Excuse me.
manually go and grab
You look like someone that needs a drink.
Sure, let's see what you got.
Let me know what you'd like.
And the Institute's janitor turned behemoth that lies within. The settlement area of Boston International Airport is easily one of the smallest and most limiting in the entire game, not allowing you to farm food or, recruit settlers. We can send settlers here from other locations, but really this loadout hangar is more allocated for the purposes of Brotherhood-related build objectives.
Excuse me.
I'm sure I have something you need.
Sure. Let's take a look.
Here's what I've got.
Actuators for the Liberty Reprimed quest. And by that reckoning, this is more our personal on-site Brotherhood workshop than anything resembling settlements. Hence its placements down here on the list. With that said, the build height limit of 7 stories is kind of generous for a place of this size, and ample for anyone who wanted to build a small mansion cozied up next to arguably one of the safest places currently in the Commonwealth. It also means you're sleeping just several yards away from the Liberty Prime, which should realistically mark it up. Bear in mind, of course, we will lose this one if falling out with the Brotherhood, but can reclaim it again after violently resolving that dispute. Another Creation Club player home now, Charlestown Condo is located right around the corner from Bunker Hill, and literally right across the road from the initial form of the US's Constitution. Now, there's a very small quest to unlock it, where we go and find the previous discoverer who's been killed whilst out on a supply run. In his last message, he's teeming with excitement at having discovered an actual nice home.
Hey there.
If you need fixing up.
Actually, I need some supplies.
Let's see what I got.
Grab his key and the condo is ours. And inside are 4 floors of a nicely decorated pre-war home, including a diner, living area, and bedrooms. It's not my favourite Creation Club player home, but similar to Shroud Manor, which we'll get to, it's got kind of a Cabot House vibe to it, albeit cozier than that mansion. I'm particularly a fan of the double bed that it adds, at least I think it's this mod that adds it, and we can build this at other settlements too. In fact, it's kind of weird that we couldn't build double beds at all in the vanilla game to begin with. There's also
Hey there.
I'm sure I've got something you need.
Let's see what you got. Great.
Probably best of all is the place's proximity to Bunker Hill, where we can literally walk around the corner to for supplies to set up whatever else we want to in this place, if using it as more of a home. At 300 credits, it is the cheapest Creation Club home, and hey, it beats Homeplate. So if you're desperately wanting something like this in your game, and you want to spend the least amount possible, then I guess go do that. Or else you could just build a house in an actual settlement. Now, unless you're Shrek, who, to be fair, doesn't look too dissimilar from a super mutant, I'm really not sure why you'd opt to settle at this next one. The Murkwater construction site is a patch of swamplands to the south that some pre-war planning committee have looked at and said, yes, let's build here. I mean, in fairness, they'd already plonked a school in this place and forced the students to eat pink sludge, so this isn't too much of a stretch to believe. I think it's more the fact that the sole survivor then looks at this abandoned ruin and also goes, yes, let's finish it up. Not only is it a dreary wet bog, but it's also the actual spawn location of a Mirelurk queen. What's more, if you have the Vault-Tec DLC, it's pretty close to that far superior settlement. This all said, claiming it does allow us to scrap a decent supply of the most abundant resource in the game, wood, and we can place a large-scale water purifier. Plus, the build height limits of 7 stories isn't ungenerous, and maybe we could build some sort of Shrek-themed swamp hut or something. If you've ever wanted to inhabit a nicely decorated mob boss mansion that's similar to Cabot House, but I suppose a bit more dated, then Shroud Manor is a great option. Well, for like 400 Creation Club credits.
If you
This
need
house
a
is the
weapon,
reward
you've
for
come to the
Commonwealth
right
quest,
place.
and comes equipped with multiple
I've got a
bedrooms,
few minutes to browse.
Let me know what
2
you'd
secret attics, and an entire underground office/vault, housing enough pre-war money to possibly pay for a game of bowling at the General Atomics Galleria. $5,000. The whole thing was owned by a mob boss, of course, prior to the war, who had a huge obsession with the Silver Shroud, decorating his walls with Shroud memorabilia, and designing the property to be a particularly noir-style Wayne Manor. Again, same as with the other player homes, we do have free reign to build and scrap furniture as we wish, but there's no resource menus, settlers, or supply chains. Though, it does offer a nice pit stop between Grey Garden and Bunker Hill, based in the Cambridge Centre somewhere
somewhere above the Institute. And it's going to take some wacky, possibly Time Lord science to explain the size discrepancy between the interior and exterior. Like the shape matches with the two attics and such, it's just that outside, the house is about 2 or 3 times smaller than it should be. I guess they really wanted to build it in a town and were limited to pre-existing assets. But that all said, I'm quite a fan of it. I like the tone it conveys, and even though it lacks the functionality of a full settlement, it makes for a cool play at home.
Excuse me.
Need armor?
Let's see what you have.
Let me know what you'd like.
Situated within throwing distance of it, in fact, we can find Hangman's Alley, a fortified passageway initially inhabited by raiders with their crude displays of victims around the outside, no doubt being the origin of the name. It's a very simple one to get. Simply go in and kill the raiders, then claim it for yourself. And with that done, we're now the proud owners of an alleyway. It's a pretty limited alleyway. There's not a whole lot we can do with it, but it's our alley all the same. I mean, it would have been good if we could build up to the rooftops and place turrets to serve as firing support this side of Boston, but the game won't let us build that high. So instead, this will have to resort to being a place we can retreat to of sorts for the area. I mean, it's got a good filter system, in fairness, and I guess in survival mode is the easiest settlement to get to from Diamond City. But canonically, I think given the pre-existing aesthetic, it would make the most sense to serve as a multi-world outpost. Located on the eastern bit of enhanced Fruit Manor once belonged to the prominent Fruit family prior to the war in 2077. Now, these guys had fallen into a bit of debt before the war and had been desperately hoping for it to clear away. Of course, in an ironic twist of fate, the debt would disappear along with the entire civilized world. And despite the Grand Sea being on the other side of the map, it appears, possibly due to how exposed outwards, that the blasts blew into bits, irradiating and coolifying the family, transforming all but one of them, named Theodore, into ferals. For the next 200 years, Theodore attempted persistently to re-educate his family out of their feral states. Ferals don't tend to attack other ghouls, so Theodore was safe through this, until one day it appears he snapped, finally, after 200 years, lashing out first to aggro his relatives, and finally spelling his demise. This all occurs, though, just in time for us, the sole survivor, to rock up and claim Croup Manor for our own, clearing the ferals and restoring it to prosperity. Well, except for the prosperity part, because again, we're landed with a dilapidated mansion, which, whilst we can tack stuff onto, we can either properly repair or scrap the pre-existing ruined bits. And given how badly building parts gel with existing terrain, we get a combination of ugly-looking walls over holes and problems like this one, with settlers getting caught in broken flooring. Now, there is a generous 11 build height, so we could, if we wanted, build a Nahant Tower, but that'll either mean crudely constructing on top of the mansion or around the monuments outside. The plot doesn't really stretch beyond that. So a cool bit of world building, but all told, a little bit meh in terms of settlement prospects. And in fact, despite being a coastal settlement, it doesn't even have any proper water access for purifiers. A very small but fairly central settlement next, Oakland Station is located a ways north of Route 81, essentially a square of farmland next to a ruined forest, which, given its size, shouldn't be too difficult to fully fortify. You can't build too high with this one, just 5 stories, and it's nothing special as far as settlements go, though it is the only settlement in the vanilla game to attract the interest of the Zetans, or at any rate it's right next to where the Zetan ship crash lands at level 20, and the cave that the alien retreats to. And that's about the most memorable thing for this one, really. I mean, the settlement itself isn't horrible, it just doesn't really have anything special about it. Right down in the southwest now, Somerville Place's main strategic advantage is its proximity to the glowing sea, whilst itself being far enough outside so as to not irradiate us, or settlers. Another generous build limit here of 10 stories, which is good given the otherwise small plot of land this one occupies, comprised of a dilapidated but still functioning house, and a few existing rows of corn. Not too far far away, we have Funtime 5, which is infested to the brim with both drugs and gunners. Whilst there's also the very high-alert-ridden Cutlass Bend and the sleep-ancient inhabited Stroud Palace a ways to the north. That's without even mentioning the Deathclaw horrors and possibly worse, southwest in the Glove Sea. Of course, the game will send us in there several times, so in survival mode, say, Somerville Place is a good checkpoint for whenever we're heading in and out. Besides that, though, it's another mediocre shack with not really any unique quirks. County Crossing is a nice little settlement of new fruit farmers pitched a little northeast of Boston, not too far away from Bunker Hill. It's a relatively flat, rectangular patch of land which, aside from the shell of an old building, provides a nice bit of scope to construct some kind of structure. And to anybody considering building a tall tower, this isn't a bad choice of location, as we can see from the 12-story build height. So, whilst not providing us with much to begin with, save a nice supply of new fruits, County Crossing does have development potential, though looking at it from a more canonical perspective, I would scrap the meat fruit farm entirely, given the heavy radioactive shells of a reactor plant positioned literally right across the road. I mean, I get that nowhere in the wasteland is safe, but really? Here? I mean, I guess maybe it was warm for the settlers or something. In fact, if you're not going to build here, then another good option
Uh-huh.
to make
Yeah.
settlements
Take a look at me, Doc.
What's feeling off today? What can you tell me?
Took a few bad hits recently. Got knocked around.
I've seen worse. Better stitch you up before infection sets in, though.
Actually, seriously. Let me introduce the Noir Penthouse. And as far as story goes, this is a repurposed Institute safe house that's obviously been done. Not just a pre-war, but millionaire pre-war standards. If you ever wanted to live in a penthouse towering above Boston, then this is that. There's a quest tied to it as well, about chasing down and recapturing Institute synths, but effectively the prize is this. Same as the other player homes, then it's more a home than settlement. But with one big difference that really makes the aesthetic for me. The windows are real. That's a low-res render of the Commonwealth out there, and as such, the lighting of this place will adhere to the dead cycle, which looks particularly incredible with the low DMP that I have installed. Plus, if we can fast enough to spend time in to actually make something of a home out of, and reminds me in fact of the apartment found in 7, which I've also ranked twice. Of course, it still suffers from the not having any settlement menus, with much in the way of building mechanics to it, but given it's nice there anyway, doesn't use the location out there, and that bumps it up so much. I'm not inciting you to go and buy it, it's 600 credits, but regardless, I am pretty impressed with this, and it felt like something from a more modern game. So take pretty much everything I just said about the Noir Penthouse and place it into a renovated apartment complex in good neighbour called the Neon Flats. Created by the same guy as Noir Penthouse, this one follows a similar Institute-centric storyline. This time about an AI that, in a shocking twist that's never been done before, learns to think for itself, and has us chasing it down across the Commonwealth, merely to reactivate this building and gain access to the home above. A home which, again, similarly utilises actual windows. And this one overall has even more of a cyberpunk theme to it than first. Perhaps that's why I marginally prefer it, though I will say the lighting is better in the Noir Penthouse. But with an additional secret office found in this one, as well as a whole other floor in fact, featuring a much more bare-bones apartment designed to our heart's content, this whole place just has a little more going for it. And besides, why not also have a house of good neighbour? The third rail bar is also literally visible from just outside our window now, and all in all, this place is awesome, and personally makes me feel right at home. Located on a peaceful northern hillside, Ten Pines Bluff is one of the first settlements we're convinced to join the Minutemen, and can provide a useful source of food early on with its food system so far. Other than that though, this one's pretty bare bones. with an utterly time-shacked and a destroyed ruin of an old house, which, to be fair, is in such bad condition that it's actually not too much of a problem to just bulldoze the walls entirely, providing a rather immediate residence for additional settlers. There's a little more room on the hillside for more of them to be built, but being high up already, we are very limited to just a 4-story build height, one of the lowest in the game. Thus, being a settlement in a lower level area means
You got some carpentry experience, right?
or dangerous, with the road bridge to the southeast serving as both a good choke and vantage points, and there's not really much north of here, save for outposts and mountains. It's certainly a nice scenic view, and IRL could make for a good vineyard, though there's other settlements where we can construct some nice viewing platforms higher up the list. Not too far outside the town of Malden is another small settlement called Greentop Nursery, comprised of a large greenhouse of meat fruits and a Sanctuary Hills-style house. In fact, it's one of quite a few settlements around this area, with the Slog, Finch Farm, and Covenant all being close-ish neighbours. A super mutant camp and a warehouse with a mass fusion used to dump barrels upon barrels of meat. I mean, you could ask for better neighbors. The 8-story build height is already occupied rectangle of building space really just make this more of a convenient location to drop supplies, and I suppose a nice, ready-to-go farm of food to ship to your other settlements. A reward, if you will, for completing the Automaton DLC, Mechanist Lair is located deep under a Rothko building, locked behind several incredibly high security doors. I mean, arguably, this place is better guarded and fortified than the Commonwealth Vault. And despite being a cave, no view of any kind, save for a wall of robo-drones, we can, unlike our player homes, still establish supply routes here for one of two purposes. If you're a huge fan of the robot crafting mechanic, then of course, this is a particularly optimum place for which to carry out our robot construction operation. Not nearly to the level of efficiency as the Mechanist, but there's plenty of relevant salvage about the place to aid in this endeavour. Otherwise, I'd still recommend setting up a supply line and then scrapping the incredible amount of supplies down here for our above-ground settlements, namely a lot of steel. We can carve out most of the changes in a structure to build whatever we want. Effectively, it's like an inferior Group 88.
Out
here? Thus, its existence does allow us, in a sense, to become a mechanist of our own if we so choose. And its focus here on the list is only down to its vast resources. I think that there's some settlements just begging to be recaptured by the Nuka World Raiders, and the first place I took on their behalf was Outpost Zamonja, or Zamonia, that sounds more right, doesn't it? Formerly a raider camp anyway, based around its most prominent feature of a signal tower, which sadly we can't utilise to further broadcast Nuka World's fear-mongering across the Commonwealth, but we can build up to it. In fact, this place's generous build heights of 11 or 12 stories is another big woody quality. Perfect for building a watchtower, say, surveying the lands to the south, so that we can pay tribute to their
Good caps to be made.
I don't know. It's either that or just another little farm to a settler. It'll be with a worse view than 10 Point Bluff, which you can find just
Heads
over
up.
the hill. Jamaica Plain is known throughout the Commonwealth for its legends of treasure buried underneath the town, and whilst coming here and doing that quest can net us a baseball bat capable of utterly eating people, there's also a small portion available to serve as a settlement. Now, a big reason that none of the raiders managed to get inside the Jamaica Plain vault in, 200 years, aside from the general backstabbing between them, is the extreme overabundance of feral ghouls inhabiting this town. Like, seriously, this is a tough, relentless battleground earlier in the game, but with ghouls, or at least the ones around the settlement area cleared, we can claim this region, comprising of 2 houses and a car park at the southern end. Not nearly as exciting as having a whole town to play with, of course.
Seems to be growing well.
But at least here, we can place an outpost.
Stick to the road.
Where caravans seem to fall through, like, all the time. It's a busy settlement, this. Though, as far as the scope for what we can build goes, we can't actually go higher than the existing houses, really. And something that feels like a big oversight from Bethesda is this house fronts right in the middle that can neither be entered nor scrapped. I mean, like, okay, just sure, take away a good chunk of building space. So pretty big points on the location, but mark it down a bit for the prospects to, you know, actually.
Got work to do. Can't talk now.
Heading over to the island of Far Harbor for this next one.
If you ain't been up to see Grey Garden, you should go. The whole place is run by robots.
Kent, whose forefathers have inhabited it for 7 generations, during which time nobody thought to sweep up these debris piles or fix the damaged walls.
Yes?
And sadly, we can't clear a lot of that mess either, in the main building at least. With that said, the center does come equipped with some walls to begin with, and a sort of turret area on top of the building, which is excellent for repelling attackers that frequently come down from the hill above. In fact, that's exactly what we have to do in order to unlock this place during the quest for holdouts, which will be issued by Mitch in the bar over in Far Harbor. And whilst it's tougher to see due to the
Make a move and I'll end
center
you,
offers a
Wastelander.
amount of building space, including a very fine car park at the northern end, which is much more readily equipped for new builds. And same as every settlement on Far Harbor, it seems that the main for roadmates really raises the ceiling, quite literally, for what we could potentially construct. But aside from the flat area, it's
the farm's not much, but it's
works as the other Far Harbor settlements, and seems to be particularly foggy like all of the time. Some of the clearer shots you're seeing were actually obtained with this console command, which is basically the clear skies shout from Skyrim. Bunker Hill is first and foremost one of the largest trading posts in the Commonwealth, headed up by traders and caravan owners who ship goods to places like Diamond City, Vault 81, and even Covenant, though that last one wasn't too smart, by that. Now, for the majority of the main quest line, a trading post at Bunker Hill will remain, one we have absolutely no control over. After all, it needs to remain as is for the Battle of Bunker Hill quest. But once that's completed, return to Bunker Hill and speak to Tesla.
Not many doctors around these days.
Keep us on their good side.
Farming's as honest word gets.
And, just like that, one of the most lucrative trading settlements in the Commonwealth that falls into our grasp. Now, since it's possible to avoid the Battle of Bunker Hill entirely by not pursuing the Institute quests, we'll instead have to sort out Bunker Hill's raider problem by killing one of the local leaders. In fact, that's a quest you'll also want to do regardless, since it increases the available caps of Bunker Hill's merchants thereafter. And once Bunker Hill is ours, we will automatically be able to ascertain Bunker Hill always on the list. So another benefit I would say to this one is its location. This is one of the few settlements actually situated within Boston. Not massively relevant given the existence of fast travel, but to those playing in survival mode, Bunker Hill can serve as one of the best places to return to and drop off loot for one of the busiest routes in the This placement does also make it more reliable to attacks, but given it comes pretty much fully fortified already, that's less of a problem once we also craft tanks. Additionally, despite the heights of the monument it's built around, Bunker Hill's build height is actually still around. It's not exactly much of a canvas to build stuff on anyway, and does have to drop a few marks in that regard. And while you're here, don't forget to take a trip from the top for a stellar view and a copy of Living Love. It's out of the box, arguably the most aesthetically pleasing settlements in the entire game, comprised of 4 houses, which for once aren't complete wreckages. In fact, they're not ruined at all, but rather very settlement, in fact, has strong societies. Though, of course, intrinsically tied up with Covenant and the settlements is its associated quest with error, which we can start simply by wrapping up here. I've discussed the outcome, complex morality of that quest at length in Chapter 8 of this video, so check that out later if you're interested. But, in summary, the fates of Covenant can go one of 2 ways at the end of that quest. Either the side will be actually pretty clever, of Covenant, after which they agree going unlikely pointless experiments, this doesn't disturb the existing settlements, and it remains occupied by its pre-existing main characters. Alternatively, we can put an end to Covenant's nefarious deeds and are forced to slaughter the entire town in self-defense. Well, apart from a Mr. Handy named Deezer who tempts us into the cold spine for drinks. After this, we can activate the workshop to claim the now empty cells, build a recruitment mission, and start all over again. Bear in mind that whilst this place is a pleasant to look at settlement, though, there's not much scope for expansion. The gold ambulance is literally just some of the houses to be destroyed, and it's not exactly the so, if we can, for our war defenses, sure, but this isn't a place to get to the creative. Then again, for anybody not dead and the whole building aspect of Fallout, this one might be unfortunate step to a nice through all the settlements to return to between quests. The Covenant is absolutely perfect. And to be fair, choosing here to live would be understandable behaviour for the three-wall Ortega Beach is the actual closest settlement to the Brotherhood of Steel, a generously sectioned off beach area on their same strip of land, heading down to Fort Strong. Luckily, there's not really a time system in this game, and despite the whole proverb about not building houses on sand, we can do that all whilst enjoying possibly the best view of the Gridwen with a very generous build height of 11 stories. A good enough vantage point to snipe fire alerts from across the water, but not good enough, at least not without some distant LOD mods and still across of the majestic Liberty Prime. So it kind of gets knocked down spots for that, honestly, because it means there's no settlements from which you can actually see. But if you choose the enemy with the Brotherhood, then this place does map with the artillery range, making it, in fact, possible to shells at everyone's favourite patriots and the non-negotiable thing that is democracy. Other than that, not a whole lot of story behind this one. There is a child traveller who obviously can't die and will promise to work the gold farm, and it comes with one element of beds. We don't have them, it's pretty open canvas to go with a small holiday tour. Located on the western side of Far Harbour, Echo Lake Harbour offers a more perspective on the island and its surroundings than other settlements around it, with a central building and a sort of stand area, as well as plenty of water to build around. Housing something I really like about this one is that we can actually fully scrap most of those if we so choose, opening wide patches of flat land to build things upon. Maybe good for making a wood processing plant that constructs pipe guns or something. There is one building at the entrance which we can neither get in nor scrap, and that's a little annoying, but generally this one makes for an excellent building settlement. If, again, like with everywhere on Far Harbour, you don't mind freaking fog and radiation storms. In fact, falling in here to get these shots, I immediately had, coming out of the fog, several trappers attacking the place and
identity confirmed.
A giant
This unit is
living in the remains of, ironically, an old lobster carts. Now, these things in particular are no joke. They're some of the most powerful enemies in the game, and in close proximity to this settlement, it does heavily imply you should go to move all that wood scattered around here. This place is again unlocked via a quest from Far Harbour Town called Turn Back the Fog, which in this case is issued by Scott who sees an opportunity to utilise the skills of this very powerful book dweller. Once a tourist hub that offered tours of the Charles River, the Egret Tourism Arena includes a main building, a dock, and a small boathouse, as well as a little cooling station at the end of the pier where we can find a wetland survival guide. Strategically, the whole thing works pretty well. The river prevents attacks from the west, so that's one side we don't have to fortify, whilst the water also allows for the placement of larger purifiers. There's also a big space out the back where residents say, under the not great but not terrible build height limits of 6 stories. That's if you don't want to place attacks everywhere around the arena. All through the sides. Schooling it's a standard middling settlement. Prosperous conditions, but not what's more interesting here though is the willingness to go to unlock settlements. Phyllis will be literally blocking our way to the workbench to share a sad story about how one night when on watch she fell asleep with her gun in hand, accidentally triggering it and killing a grandson. Unable to live with the guilt of what she did, Phyllis has convinced herself that she's a sinner, and must have committed the act under institute control. But after employing my own scientific method of saving, I can confirm that the story is simply a coping mechanism.
You're not a sinner. It was just an accident.
It's a really cool bit of world building around the synth problem in the Commonwealth, showing yet another means by which the Institute is used as a scapegoat to blame terrible tragedies on. And whilst we can initially convince Phyllis to stay on at the settlement, she won't actually be marked as a settler and will eventually leave, making this place free in fact of named characters, and thus a decent candidate too for the notable readers. Finch Farm, located just south of the sort of ironworks, is a family-run settlement with a core unique feature, that being the portion of the Boston Expressway contained within, which we can actually build onto for a fantastic vantage point to place turrets and such. Now, this aspect serves as something to counter the fact that the Finches were insane enough to set up shop next to the Saugus Ironworks in the first place. You know, home to the crazy, fire-obsessed Ford Raider faction, who actually the Finch's son Jake will go and join after a disagreement with his father. And by the time we show up to rescue him, Jake will have realised that it was a horrible mistake, and if he survives, return with us to the farm. We can also get the shish kebab sword this way, a Finch family heirloom, and in fact, returning to the farm with Jake is a perfectly good way to get Finch Farm as a settlement. We also have a bit of water for a proper purifier, and being a farm, a steady food supply out of the box, as well as one of the highest Commonwealth build limits of 30 stories, taking us to the overpass but also well beyond. Plus, this is a genuinely nice coastal view, looking out at the huts. I mean, compared to the coastal cottage, actually wouldn't mind hanging outside for a while. I quite like the tap in the boathouse when looking at it as a place to live. The plot may be small, but the house itself is in pretty good condition compared to most. The boathouse alongside also being ideal to go sailing on the lake if that were a feature and we were living there. Hell, with Covenant literally over the hill, this could even be our stately home outside the settlements, which we could then head over to in a day. And unlike Covenants, we actually have a fair bit of scope to build on this one, with a comfortable 9 or 10 stories in height. Also, having access to a huge body of water both works and makes sense for water purifiers. Still, as far as smaller settlements go, this is you won't probably build tons here, but it's just a nice place to come to somewhere. And I'd imagine that's what the Sutton family thought too, until they tried to access a stash of cannons in the nearby drainage pipe, awakened a nest of bloodbugs, and died. And though the bloodbugs aren't too much of a fact for the universe for us, also, just across the water is a huge settlement of super mutants at west end of the States, almost like super mutant sanctuary. Then there's the town of Moody to the north, which is also crawling with enemies, hoping there is good access to livelihood and a safer to raise their Lindsay nursery. All in all, top-class home and okay as a settlement. In the run for Best Coastal Settlement now, Kingsport Lighthouse will initially be run by the hostile Children of Atom group, mainly based at Greater House to the north. The lighthouse has become that little project of theirs to draw in both worshippers of Atom and non-believers.
Heads up.
Making the lighthouse shine once again by ingeniously placing a glowing one at the top to be worshipped and bestow radiation. Now, there's not much choice with capturing this one, and regardless of our affiliation with the Atomites of Bar Harbor, these will attack us immediately, and taking them all out will unlock us the settlements comprised of a ruined property, a small boathouse, and of course the lighthouse itself, which we can build to the top of, though no higher. But this does mean we can place turrets and such top, the immediate excellent defense. Plus, the fact that this one's located on the coast means most of neighbouring factions include them, the hostile Atomites, of course, who originally settled here, a guy that sold wool and mole rat meats from the cannery down south, and always further out west is Dunwich Boris, which, you know, used to worship incomprehensible Lovecraftian entities and possibly still does. Though, given Kingsport itself is also a reference to Lovecraft, so maybe it just works. Sunshine Tidings Cove is one of the few settlements to actually feel like a settlement already before being colonized by us. Similar to Sanctuary Hills, this place is a series of shacks circulating around a central barn, and claiming it for ourselves simply involves dealing with the feral ghouls that live here. Unlike Sanctuary though, this place used to be run as a hippie commune, with one former resident still being around to this day. The chillest Mr. Handy in the Commonwealth, Professor Goodfields. Honestly, it's like having a robot Shaggy from Scooby-Doo and an awesome, unique quirk of the place. Goodfields was liberated by the commune from the Jester consumer robotics, which we can actually direct him back to, marking the location on our map to also be visited, though sadly removing Goodfields from the game, so don't do that, which we do by programming the command on the central terminal. We can, however, also set him to guard mode, turning the robot into a Dalek. And Goodfields isn't the only good thing about this place, which comes with plenty of initial living space, but also a ton more building space in general than most settlements. In addition to an excellent build height of 10, so plenty of scope for whatever you choose to design. Though just make sure to fortify it well, because literally up this hill is a small raider outpost who'll attack far too frequently. Down the hill to the east we also have the famous landmark of Carhenge, and the, behemoth that lives within it, plus over on the dam were more raiders. I mean, they were my raiders, the operators, but still, they will be hostile with the settlement, so be careful with that. Anyway, excellent scope for building, and a cool unique robot, but for a peace-loving commune, this is also easily one of the most dangerous locations to shack up, which also possibly explains the lack of remaining intelligent residents when we arrive.
As a father who works full-time, I want to give an example to show them that even though education and your dreams can be difficult to achieve, it's worth pursuing that goal. This is my comeback. Start yours at BeGlobal.com.
Located on the southeast coast, Warwick Homestead is a family-run farm, occupied by a number of named NPCs, including, of course, the Warwick family. It's also a fantastic food supply out of the box if we want to join it into our supply chain. The huge flat area where this place is based, as well as the full water treatment facility where the settlers live, also makes it a relatively safe area. I mean, sure, it's overlooked by a shipwreck of ghoulified Norwegian raiding sailors, and taking 2 steps outside will prompt a violent attack, but it's also aided by power armor-loving, greased lightning-inspired atom cats from just across the water, who will want to visit too for a cool power armor-loving thing. All this should have done, perhaps it's why
Look alive.
we allocated this as a testing ground for new strains of crops, seeing how they perform. Graceland. And yes, this does mean that Roger Warwick is a synth replacement, but he will simply function as a regular settler still to do farming and such. In fact, if we complete the Institute quest based at this grows into a giant pumpkin.
You again.
Unique to the game.
Here to trade.
Let's see what you got.
You break it, you buy it.
To the Taffington boathouse. See, there's another guy living here named Bill Sutton. Not a particularly nice man, both a chem addict and former abuser of his children, and due to this, Bill's family left him at Warwick Homestead and moved to the Taffington boathouse. And, well, you already know how that went with the float fly attack. And I suppose, despite the immediate dangers at Warwick Homestead, one would simply close the door to the treatment plant here and be safe. Also, it's not too far of a swim to Spectacle Island, and forms a nice triangle with that and the castle. Very strong settlement all. Located at the northern end of Far Harbor Island, Dalton Farm is unlockable via the quest Blood Tides, where Cassie Dalton, a Far Harbor resident, tasks the sole survivor with avenging her grandfather by defeating Dalton Farm's resident fog crawler. Sometime after having done that, the Far Harbor citizens will apparently establish fog condensers around Dalton Farm, and we can operate the workbench thereafter. I know there were a lot of good contenders for best beach settlement back in the Commonwealth, and I'm talking specifically beach, not island, but if you ask me, this one in Far Harbor beats them all, given the unique prospects of actually having a fair amount of water terrain to build on. There's a short pier already established here, and if we want, we could extend that, or even build a few houses on the water. But in any case, there's ample room for water purification. Also, it's definitely worth building some fortifications from the land side too, given that the Condensers Down quest occasionally occurs here. When this happens, an insane number of fog creatures will descend on the settlements and genuinely won't let up until the condensers are repaired. This is a unique Far Harbor problem, of course, though what the island also seems to have in abundance are excellent build height limits, and ascending from beach level, I was able to attain about 18 or 19 stories with this one. One of the earlier settlements you'll likely come across, Abernathy Farm, is, I would say, an underrated gem of a settlement, and the fact that it comes ready equipped with both Tato and melon farms, as well as the family already managing it, is just a small part of why Abernathy Farm is great. You see, this place was constructed at the base of a impressive wooden shack, and when Bethesda designed this one, I guess they wanted to make it possible to build fully around the pylon. Thus, where most settlements have a build height cap somewhere below 10 stories, Abernathy Farm can reach a huge 20. Now, physically, the crudity of this model, I only had time to build it to scale, not to paint it, same as all the other awful looking stair things I've made throughout the video, but they're essentially too technical to build it. Thus, the point is, if you were so inclined with this one, you could build a huge tower
to enable this unit's personality
as well as the structure below, which actually can't be gotten rid of,
Sure,
just by being built
that would be
out
great.
of wooden building.
Personality
Now, don't get me wrong,
subroutine
it's a good
activated.
starting
A pleasure
place
to see
and
you
building
again,
for the
sir.
majority of
Are you
players who
ready
are
to
treating
depart?
this as just another settlement
Actually,
that needs our help,
I'll be back
and
later.
it's particularly
Very well,
good
sir.
for placing strategic turrets. But ultimately, its fixed existence could be potentially problematic to more budding high-rise architects. Also, we can ally with this place very, very early on. In fact, it could even become our third settlement after Sanctuary and Red Rocket, and doesn't even require waiting on a Minutemen quest.
Seems to
Simply
be growing
rock up
well.
and chat with Blake Abernathy. We'll explain one of his daughters, Mary, recently killed by a band of raiders, whose grave we can actually find out back, and Blake will then task us with recovering her lockets from their nearby raider satellite station. They're getting the quest Returning the Favour. Carefully doing that at lower levels, and returning the thing Blake will immediately sign up, making his settlement free to build on thereafter. Of course, we can always drive them away later and build a tower for them for world records, but I feel especially bad doing that to these guys, given what they've been through. And this place has a lot of potential without help. The castle. I mean, the name says it all, really. A strategically placed, heavily fortified, star-shaped fort situated on the east coast, which has, and thanks to us, will continue to serve as a crowning jewel for the Minutemen. To unlock this place, of course, we'll need to progress the Minutemen questline, convincing other settlements that needed our help to join up, until Preston decides we need a more central base of operations. A hub, if you will, and where better than the old base where the Minutemen used to be, until suffering an attack from a Mile-like queen back in 2240, 47 years prior. And in order to claim it back, we'll have to first defeat the seventh Mile-like queen. Now, Cyclops. This queen can be found prior to Preston issuing the quest if you're looking to take on more of a challenge. Blizzard proudly declared that we've already cleared the castle when it was done. And whilst the castle is technically unlocked from this point, completing the follow-up quest Old Guns as well will open up an additional wing in the basement to unlock the old Minutemen uniform and a bunch of, well, old guns, into which to arm our settlers. Of course, the place does still start out as a ruin, and carefully lining up these blocks to restore these walls to a complete pentagon is absolutely something you want to do, because after that, it's arguably one of the most fortified settlements in the game, where you will constantly have the high ground and pretty much unlimited areas to place turrets. And depending on your choices for the main questline, this may become ground zero for more battles, and with the right adjustments and defenses, they'll all be remarkably easy. Whilst we can't quite build to the height of the radio tower, I think it's just 8 stories from the courtyard we can do in fact, but that is still plenty of height to turn the castle into a fortress or bastion if you were so inclined. Fortunately, as well, because Radio Freedom will automatically play in the background constantly, there is an off switch to deactivate that, so we don't have to constantly listen to settlements needing help. Also, we sadly can't claim this one for the World Raiders, which could have been an awesome ending to the World Backlog Act in Commonwealth, topping things off by retaking the castle as the Raiders and becoming a dark, tyrannical overlord of the Commonwealth and everywhere beyond. And I guess maybe to ultimately do so, we'll have to rely on mods. A settlement with a fair bit of lore behind it now, Grey Garden is a fortified facility built just before the war by Robco Senior and Grey.
He was one of Robco's senior engineers, but more than a little eccentric.
He wanted to create a food production facility that could run fully independently under the management of robots. And when we find it, 210 years later, it's clear his idea was incredibly effective. And this place is still running, and still producing vast quantities of food. In fact, it was only
since we had the
before
big
we
talk
arrived that the Mr. Handys of Grey Garden experienced any kind of issue they couldn't resolve. But when we get there, the water treatment plants, apparently tapped into their hydroponics, which is situated downhill, have begun to experience issues with pressure. And speaking to the
Those Raiders a lesson. We'll teach them again if we come back.
Fix the problem and unlock Grey Garden thereafter. And now this Edward Grey fella had a really good taste in location. I mean, sure, it's just up the hill from his house, but this whole region is arguably one of the most scenic in Commonwealth. And the 2 levels of rolling Boston Expressway that we can also build up to here serve perfectly as a viewing platform to the south, as well as the sweeping mountainous vistas west. There's also a significant advantage against any attackers coming from the south because the expressway, again, can be utilised to repel attacks from the north. In fact, we can build a fair bit above the upper level of the expressway, and this place again has a really good build height limit. But layout aside, a fully functioning hydroponics facility is of course one of the best settlements you can hope for as the boss of supplying food. Robot settlers, of course, don't need and can therefore be shared amongst the other settlers. Or when humans do come and live here, then we've got their food sorted. Equally, Grey Garden makes a good settlement for subduing Tyranian lands, and assaulting the settlement I just fortified as a test showed me also just how effective it could be at repelling attackers. Overall though, if you just want an all-round brilliant settlement that's fairly central-ish, or central to the western side anyway, then Grey Garden is one of your best bets.
Are you the Bud Light genie?
Yeah.
Next.
Bud Lights?
I'm a genie. Gemini.
I'm a genie.
Oh, cool.
The slog is a swimming pool turned
Seems to be growing well.
entirely by ghouls located just north of the source ironworks. The slog essentially formed as a result of McDonald's intolerance of ghouls. If you ever wonder why you don't see any ghouls in Dolphin City, it's because they were all exiled for having newly stolen immortality. Thus, determined to prove their value still in the Commonwealth, they mostly settled here at the old swimming pool, transforming it into a Tarberry swamp and one of the most unique farms in the Commonwealth. And it's largely that uniqueness that earns the slog at this place on the list. Because, believe me, it's not the location. See, just like Finch Farm, the slog, as I said, is directly next to the source ironworks, except this time on the side where most of the enemies spawn. In fact, fast travelling here will very often plonk us right down in front of them, triggering combat when all we came for were Tarberries. Luckily, with an awesome build height of 11, we at least have the potential to craft turrets with excellent excellent vantage points. But aside from all this, the slog is also home to one of the most prominent inventors in pre-war times. The now qualified, obviously, Arlen Glass, inventor of Giddy-Up Buttercup toys. See, on the day the bombs dropped, Arlen had gone out to the Wilson Automatoys factory in a plea to get his job back. He'd been fired by his partner's son, who sold out to make weapons instead of toys. That's a story we can read about at the factory. But anyway, Arlen was out when the bombs dropped, whilst his home, his wife, and his daughter became a crater. And kneeling down in the radioactive pit on his return there, Arlen wanted to die. So, instead, of course, he became functionally immortal. Thus has used the last 200 years to keep doing what he does best, constructing toys to make children. The guy like the Harvard Christmas of the Commonwealth and his presence here clearly serves to elevate the slog as a notable settlement even higher. So, location is crap. Build potential is decent, but the slog's uniqueness and stories within are awesome. Most settlements offer a small patch of land, or at best a large patch, but ultimately an uneven one. What I love about Sanctuary Hills is the game just throws us a small town, or hamlet out the box, and says, there you go, have fun. And I mean, sure, the 9 unscrappable houses will remain dilapidated, there's not a ton we can do about that, but the settlement does let us scrap 5 of these, providing perfectly flat foundations upon which we can build whatever kind of house like, whether that be trying to capture the aesthetic of the others, or constructing a more fortified barracks for settlers. Though not too high of a barracks, because what Sanctuary has in lateral size, it does need a bit in height. And I think Bethesda mostly intended for us to restore the player's old neighborhood to its former glory. I mean, as best we can, and as best as the Wasteland will allow us at least. This is also, of course, where the original Minutemen group we meet will settle, and truly, it's not a bad place for them to live. Sanctuary is mostly protected by the surrounding lake, and we can just heavily fortify the bridge, with the water access allowing for the construction of large-scale purifiers. So, whilst the Minutemen's occupation of settlers unfolds, it also raises an issue, should we ever want to capture Sanctuary for Nuka World, in the fact that several of them are essential. However, if we relocate them all to a different settlement, say for Mama Murphy, who has to stay here, but then we overdose her on chems, Sanctuary is technically capturable. So, if you wanted a proper raider town in the Commonwealth too, then that is technically possible. Otherwise, just enjoy having a straight-up customizable town pretty much in the game. Starlight Drive-In was the settlement I chose as the base for my power ranking video. I knew that there'd be a lot of sets once we factor in paint jobs, and that I'd need a mostly flat stretch of land with plenty of surrounding areas of interest to run up to and test the different suits. Starlight Drive-In ticked every box, mostly. It actually wasn't quite big enough, and I did have to corner around twice, but hey, the more normal, same builds, this place should perform amicably, which is great given its immediate proximity to Concord and ease of capturing earlier in the game. The only resistance we really encounter are some mole rats. And okay, fine, its proximity to points of interest does make it liable to attacks, but its flatness across the board means building walls isn't too complicated, and it already comes with a full projecting screen to immediately set up turrets on. But with a nice score build heights, it leaves plenty of scope for most taller builds too. And in terms of settler resources, the puddle in the middle, of course, works for large-scale water purification. In fact, in my main save, I did turn this into a Nuka World outpost due to the lack of named NPCs. And I don't know, the fact that it's essentially a huge concrete car park just kind of feels like the place raiders would enjoy. Plus, there's plenty of prosperous surrounding settlements to eat into submission if you're going down a particularly evil route. But otherwise, it's flat, unlockable pretty early, and a great choice to transform into our main base of operations. A presumably tidal-accessed island now, Longfellow's cabin, home of course to Longfellow, becomes available after the Walk in the Park quest, wherein we make our way to Acadia. Longfellow will be impressed by our surviving on the island, and subsequently grant us all building rights to this home. And this place is actually a deceptively large island, almost the spectacle island of Bar Harbor, with the entire perimeter being available for building, save for a ship on the north side. To the further north is another island of golfers, but luckily Longfellow cabin is equipped with fog condensers. And should we happen to place down a settlement recruitment beacon too, the old sailor won't
I need
object
to
to his
assign
quaint
someone to
little
this.
cabin being turned into a full-on settlement, apparently. Building up from one of the lower points on the beach as well, I was very surprised to reach a whole 20 stories. Now, of course, the whole island is sloping, you can do that at the top end, but technically, this means the Longfellow cabin rules with Abernathy Farm, and offers exceptional views of the eastern side of Far Harbor in this case as a result. And in either case, it's practically double the build limits of Spectacle Islands, allowing us to build both at great width and great heights. We can of course chain it to our mainland settlement resources too, same as all the Far Harbor settlements, but equally the foggy expanses of Far Harbor have more of an acquired taste than the slightly nicer, less often foggy Commonwealth. Though, at the time in Far Harbor, I do prefer the south side. World may only provide us with one actual settlement, but trust me, this is a good one. Nuka World Red Rocket takes many of the things we love about the original Red Rocket, massively expands the available space, places it on warm sands, and Nuka-Colas the whole thing up a bit. It's a nice flat area of land that comes equipped with a fueling station and some already working farmland. As well as, I think, the actual highest build limit in the game of 21 stories are achieved here, from which we can get an awesome view across the entire Nuka World theme whilst we tinker and build in literally the only customizable player home / settlement of this DLC. Though, bear in mind, by the time we unlock this one, we will be done with most of Nuka World. It doesn't become available until after turning the power back on, which itself is one of the final main quests. If still allied with the raiders, it'll be randomly allocated to one of them. Otherwise, we can join it with our mini settlements, which honestly I'm quite tempted to go and do because this raider lot hates farming, and I'm therefore not really inclined to utilize a lot of the available space, unless maybe I build a tower or something. Other than that, since this isn't really a pit stop to store items and recuperate between missions for this DLC, it gets a little relegated. Still an awesome building site, but unlike the original Red Rockets, not one I think most players will have as much cause to fully take advantage of.
Factory default mode recognized.
A personal favourite of mine, mostly because of just how convenient it is. The Red Rocket truck stop is the second settlement you'll most likely visit in FO4, and despite being relatively simple by design, this place has tons going for it. For instance, there's pre-placed crafting stations of every kind here, just ready to go, and thus I always found myself returning here in particular for crafting. Below the station is a hidden cave containing grain fungus and a fusion core, and possibly most important of all, this is where we meet the goodest boy in the entire Commonwealth. I mean, the questline, the factions, the side quests, they're all really just a way for the Soul Survivor to occupy time. Realistically, all they ever need is right here. And I like to imagine, one timeline, they simply settled here and lived out their days in peace. Well, relative peace. The place is still prone to attacks, especially from the east, though luckily the roof provides a great vantage point for turrets. What's more, and I actually didn't realise this until making this video, Red Rocket has a great building of about 11 stories. Not as great as Abernathy Farm across the way, or again the Nuka World Red Rockets, but Red Rocket's placements, in particular, just seems to capture a view of the entire Commonwealth, and a very nice one. That's seriously, next time you're in FO4, head to your Red Rocket, build even just some makeshift stairs like I have up to the limits, and take in the view. I mean, okay, it's not Appalachia, but not bad, Bethesda, not bad.
I must apologize for the odd noises.
This shouldn't come as any surprise, but now of course we reach Spectacle Island, earning its place on this list mainly down to the sheer size of the thing. The largest settlement in the game, at least the largest above ground, Spectacle Island is located in the southeast, pretty much the opposite end of the east of the game, so a bit of a trek to unlock it early, not to mention the fact that doing so requires activating a Mylar propelling signal and wrangling with the Queen. But once we have this place unlocked, there's no limit with this one really to what we can build. Well, there literally is, there's the actual build limit in fact, but with mods or console files,
self-diagnostic complete. I'm happy to report I won't be falling apart
for whatever reason. possible though, then you may have to take a lengthy tour around the island, scrapping existing stuff that's occupying the limits. And this is arguably the most abundant wood supply in the game. And whilst there are some cool existing unreasonable restore, you'll probably find it easier to just draw out an open space and the island's length means never really having to worry about running out of room. They about production facility say, look, given the immense size, I would suggest basing anything you'll visit frequently at the north end of the island, which is where we spawn. Also, if you like to keep the companions organised and in one place for switching out quickly, this might not be the best option for that either, given the fact that we then have to track them down and they could be anywhere on the island. Somewhere cozier, like Red Rocket, may be better for that. But really, I'm just being picky here. And again, Spectacle Island is the place to go if you have any particularly ambitious structures or facilities that you'd like to construct. Well, unless it's a really tall tower. The build height here isn't bad, around 10 stories depending on where you start from, but obviously that's nothing compared to some of the others we've seen. Also, despite the fact that it's waterlogged, enemies will still spawn here, and attacks will still take place, but it also means we can place cages, capturing creatures and taking advantage of the vast amount of space to set up cage fights, say. In fact, in a darker timeline, this can also make the way with the world, but overall, its placement up here really reinforces the fact that yes, despite what you may hear, the size really does matter. Okay, let me start off by saying I spent way too much time with the Vault-Tec DLC. Like literal days in here clipping rooms together and figuring out logistics to interconnect all these various cabins. In fact, much of the reason I haven't done specific builds at each settlement throughout this video is because I didn't want to leave a 3-month gap on the channel without any other releases. That's probably how long it would have taken me to build stuff everywhere. I get way too hooked once I get into these things, but fair play to Vault-Tec, it did actually get me. As you can see from this sprawling labyrinth of corridor rooms. When we arrive at Vault 88, it's a complete building site. A large cavern, or rather complex of caverns, many of which are sealed off, and we'll have to systematically explore and clear. It's a very generous amount of building space, all in all, with several additional entrances that come out elsewhere in the marshlands above. Though that also makes raider attacks liable to come from elsewhere in the caverns, but if done right, a vault is actually one of the easiest things to fortify in the game. It can also house 10 additional settlers compared to other places, allowing for up to 30 dwellers or perhaps more for those with maxed charisma. And given the sheer scope of this place, that'll really help to make it feel lived in. Personally, I found the main entrance large enough to build a huge atrium and multiple floors of surrounding wings, which was more than enough for living accommodation. When we start building into the surrounding cabins, things can get a little tricky. And an aim that I had when building this was to make everything interconnected, with no need to step outside vault buildings, as it were. But actually, some of the cabins are simply too small. Now, such as the old train tunnel sector. Now, this feels like an oversight for the DLC, and personally, I feel like forcing us to still have certain exposed sections of the big content is going to bring up the whole human aesthetic of Vault. Also, whilst I love that the pieces all perfectly snap together like a puzzle, for a perfectly uniform structure, there is something short, especially when it comes to original a lack of single annex building files, in particular, really the ability to build layouts like we see in other vaults. And the lack of bathroom tiles especially limits how homely we can make our vault residences feel. Now, personally, I fixed all of this by installing the Vault-Tec Workshop Overhaul Redux and Vault 88 Essentials mods, which honestly add to this DLC so much that the vanilla part of the game actually feels pretty limited. It is such a cool idea still, but evidently had even more potential than the base concept. With that said, there's still plenty of scope to build your vaults into a sprawling trading and living complex of easily challenging Vault 81, though there are of course limitations to living ground. Namely, there's more animal cages, despite the fact that plenty of creatures were already living down here, and certain builds would still be better constructed somewhere like Spectacle Island, where the sun shines. But given overall how much fun I have personally, how much time I sank into building my vaults, like the Overseer's office are overlooking our atrium, as well as how interesting and fascinating the concept of vaults is across Fallout lore in general, I gotta say, Vault 88 is my favourite settlement to build in Fallout 4. And it feels like the natural progression when you introduce a building system to a game like Fallout, I think, to allow you to build vaults. And sure, Fallout Shelter exists and is available on every platform ever. I think Bethesda also realized that, but unlike Fallout Shelter, Vault 88 allows us the creative challenge of building a vault within a game that also offers plenty else to do in the meantime. Plus, it's also a 3D vault, not 2D. And if you want to see some of the more evil things I constructed in Vault 88, then check out the first chapter of my Evil Decisions video next. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Huge shout outs to the patrons, as always, for keeping the channel alive. Videos like this, especially, take a ton of time to produce, what with building 2 different settlements, codes to look at, and your continued support gives me more freedom to pursue crazy ideas like this. If you ever want to supporting long-form content, then do check it out. Look, I'm Sam Ram, and have a good day.
Thank you. It's like I can finally think straight.
Are any of you about? Before I was modified, this was my original model, you know?
Crop's been growing pretty good lately.
Identity confirmed. This unit is ready to serve.
Gave up alcohol after settling down here.
The critics are raving. Little Caesar's Crazy Pasta, the summer blockbuster. Here's...
Don't let him smell your fear.
The official descriptions for the player characters in Fallout games seem to indicate a solitary experience. The chosen one, the lone wanderer, the soul...
Seems to be growing well.
In truth, we never actually have to be alone. Since the very first Fallout game in 1997, players of all factions, of all reputations, of all playstyles, and of all levels of karma have been able to recruit companions to keep them company on their adventures, to carry extra items, and to walk mindlessly into traps, killing you instantly. In short, companions are an integral part of the
So what makes a good companion? Well, a number of things. There's usefulness in combat, obviously. There's personality. They're going to be travelling by our side for as long as we let them, and we naturally want to enjoy their company. There's also the unique experiences they provide in their respective games, whether they take the form of personal quests, unique skills, or otherwise unavailable choices they allow us to make. These are the factors we considered in making this list. But before we get to ranking every last one of them worst to best, a few ground rules.
Firstly, no temporary companions. If a companion accompanies you briefly on a journey between locations or only during a fixed sequence in the game, they don't count for our purposes.
Also, no companions you design yourself, which means we won't be considering every possible robot you can build with the Automatron DLC for Fallout 4.
And finally, no spin-off games. We could argue about whether Fallout 76 is a spin-off or a mainline game, but since it has no companions yet, the point is moot. Let's rank them. I'm Ben.
And I'm Peter from Triple Jump, and this is every Fallout companion ranked from worst to best.
Number 48, Preston Garvey, Fallout 4. Fair play to Preston, his heart is in the right place. He's attempting to rebuild the Minutemen, a band of good-hearted mercenaries seeking to restore order in the Commonwealth and trying to help civilization to rebuild. Involve the game generating conflict out of nothing just to keep us playing. It will pick a settlement, pick a problem from a list, and give Preston Garvey the responsibility of marking it on our map, because, you know, it's not like we might have been in the middle of anything else. In the Wasteland, ethical decisions should be cloudy. A true hero would understand that sometimes the life of one farmer they've never met is nothing compared to the countless lives that will be saved if they were to instead concentrate on their mission. Preston's black and white morality isn't just annoying, it's completely incompatible with the world we now occupy. And, you know, you have a weapon yourself, Preston. You can rescue that kidnapped farmer if it's so important to you. Number 47, Pariah Dog, Fallout 2.
The pariah dog is an easily missable companion in Fallout 2. He only joins the player's party during a special encounter. When you find him, he's surrounded by corpses, suggesting that he might be absolutely brutal in a fight. Instead, though, you'll learn very quickly that he's worthless. He gives you the Jinxed trait, which drops your luck to 1 and all but ensures that your skill failures will be critical. In short, your life will be miserable as long as you continue to travel with the pariah dog, and those bodies you found weren't killed by him in battle, but smothered by the dark cloud of his bad luck. The pariah dog is essentially a troll on the part of Fallout 2. He occupies a companion slot that could easily be put to better use. He refuses to participate in combat, he cannot be dismissed from your party, and his extremely high HP means he won't be leaving you through death anytime soon. It may seem a bit disrespectful to rank poor Preston below this guy, but the decision only took us about a minute. Number 46, Porter Gage, Fallout 4, Nuka World. There have been a number of great companions added in story DLC, but in only 3 cases would they follow you back to the main game. One of those cases is Porter Gage, who you'll find in the Nuka World DLC for Fallout 4. At first, Gage seems like a decent guy. If you survive Nuka World's opening gauntlet, which you will, thanks to your unique ability to save and reload your game whenever you like, he tells you how to kill Overboss Coulter in battle, essentially saving your life in what was intended to be a fixed fight. But Gage doesn't do this out of the goodness of his heart. He's actually just dissatisfied in Coulter's regime and would prefer that someone else take over the Raider Wonderland of Nuka World. All of this is fine, and Gage is certainly a companion who can hold his own in a scrape, which is nice, but the problem is that Gage specifically wants Nuka World's new ruler to expand the Raider presence in the Commonwealth. That is his only interest and only goal. Not exactly the most appealing option for anyone who's invested a lot of time in building and maintaining. Number 45, Myron, Fallout 2. It would be quite hard to make Myron less appealing as a companion. He's a boy genius, which is nice and everything, but he's one whose main hobby seems to be forcing himself on prostitutes, and I think we all know it doesn't take a genius to do that. He claims to have invented a highly addictive chem called Jet, and if that's true, then he has the depths of many addicts on him. He thinks as highly of himself as he clearly does. He's also openly bigoted, refusing to travel with the game's crew and student companions. And if all of that weren't bad enough, under certain conditions, Myron will actually drug and sexually assault female characters. He's also nearly useless in combat, which is certainly a drawback, but I think it's fair to say that even if this petulant boy were a powerhouse, we wouldn't have much interest in him. Hello there, oh, I don't think I'm going to be sick. Number 44, Strong, Fallout 4. Raw strength is welcome in Fallout 4. The less you have to worry about fighting, the more you can worry about important things, like which Nuka-Cola trinket you'd most like to display in the mansion you built for yourself while your settlers go hungry, or deciding where to store your 80th set of power armor that you'll never use. Strong is indeed strong, but personality is where he falls down. The Fallout series has a history of great super mutant companions, we'll get to those in a bit, but Strong feels genuinely unfinished. He speaks constantly of his desire to find the milk of human kindness, which, yes, we know is him taking literally.
Seems to be growing well.
I expect there to be some kind of quest in which to either learn to shoot or find something distinct as the actual milk of human kindness. It feels like a tough concept for a quest, especially since, unlike other Fallout 4, Strong has no quest attached to him at all, making him feel less like a character than a pile of green meat with a catchphrase. Number 43, Dogmeat, Fallout 3. What? Dogmeat is this low? Who are you? And why is your opinion so remarkably invalid? Now, before you start saying rude things about my mum, remember that while Dogmeat is perhaps the iconic Fallout companion, he's actually a different dog in each game. Here, we are talking about the Dogmeat we can meet and recruit in Fallout 3. As nice as it might feel to find him in the scrapyard area of the capital wasteland, the feeling is likely to turn sour some 5 minutes later when a mole rat kills him, because this incarnation of Dogmeat is made out of rice paper. Yes, the smartest thing to do upon recruiting dog meat is to fast travel directly to your home in Megaton, because you're all very good people who certainly didn't accept the home in Tenpenny Tower instead. And then leave them there. Players who purchase the Broken Steel DLC can afford to be a little less protective of their pooch, as that add-on comes with the Puppies perk, which replaces each slain dog meat with a brand new one, just as willing to die for your carelessness. Can't decide if that's a relief or absolutely horrifying. Number 42, Skynet, Fallout 2. Fallout 2 is often criticised for a reliance on pop culture references for the sake of cheap recognition, and naming a self-aware AI after Skynet in the Terminator franchise is more or less par for the course. To recruit Skynet, players first have to complete a robo-brain, install an actual brain in the robot, and download Skynet's consciousness to it. Skynet's usefulness in combat comes mainly down to your choice of brain, but at its best, it can use a large amount of weapons and has the highest HP of any companion in the game. The downsides, though, are numerous. The quest to build a body for Skynet can be more trouble than it's worth. Skynet can't be healed in combat, and if Skynet catches you in a lie or doesn't like your attitude, he will outright murder one of your other companions. Oh, and because a robo-brain is basically a weapon in itself, many NPCs will automatically turn hostile when they see you wheeling it around. Life in the Wasteland wasn't hard enough. Number 41, X688, Fallout 4. It's quite easy to see the Institute as the bad guys in Fallout 4, as their methods are decidedly questionable, even if you ultimately look at them to be the best hope for humanity's survival. And the baddest of these bad guys are the Courses, combat-enhanced synths that do the Institute's dirty work throughout the Commonwealth. Having the ability to travel with one has obvious benefits, which is why X688 might seem like a great companion when you first meet him. Ultimately, though, X688 comes with one severe limitation. He's not really an option unless you side with the Institute. This means that if you dislike the Institute's methods and decide not to help them, there's little you can do that X688 will appreciate, and he actively prevents you from working with the Brotherhood of Steel or the Railroad, meaning you won't be able to do enough quests for either of those factions to make an informed decision about the future of the Commonwealth. Now, this may be by design, as the Institute surely wouldn't want you getting too chummy with factions that want to destroy it, but hitching your wagon to X688 locks you out of so much of the game that he's a genuine liability to the experience. Number 4.
Crafted with Valencia orange peel and coriander, Blue Moon is made brighter.
14. RoboDog, Fallout 2. Fallout 2 is certainly the game to play if you're a big fan of disappointing dog companions. The generically named RoboDog is your reward for helping Dr. Henry with his research. Dr. Henry, by the way, is the one doctor in the entire Wasteland who won't heal you, so we're already off to a great start. Dr. Henry is interested in developing treatment for the forced evolutionary virus, which you probably recognize as that awful thing that turns innocent people into super mutants. A noble enough goal, but his proposed cure actually just melts subjects into a puddle of bubbling ooze, so the Wasteland is no better as a result of yours. He does let you have RoboDog, though, which isn't even the only robotic dog companion you can get in the game. It is, however, the weakest, least useful one with the worst stats, so it's got that going for it. Number 39, Clover, Fallout 3. Female companions are relatively rare in the last series, which is why it's a shame one of them is
Anything I can do?
as Clover.
You just say the word.
Find her in the massive flavor in Paradise 4. Number 38, Delete. Delete is one of a large number of companions with Fallout 2 and has difficulty measuring up to most. His most unique feature is his tribal design, with markings all over his When we reached him, he was there to hotel owner. Number 37, Katya. When we first meet Katya in an area referred to as the Boneyard, we might well she's going to be a perfect companion. She's street smart, she has a personal understanding of several of the local factions, she acts tough, and she's looking to explore the larger world. All of this sounds great. Once we enter combat with her, though, it becomes clear why she's had to wait so long for someone to finally take her on their adventure. Katya has the lowest aim. Fellow character, gun her down easily. She seems like a person for adventure, but far more frequently she dies for it. Katya may have an interesting backstory and tales to tell, but we never hear them. The one bit of personal information we do learn is that she hates dogs.
What's up?
Yeah, dying constantly is one thing, but hates dogs. Number 36. Sergeant RL3. Fallout 3. Sergeant RL3 is a Mr. Duck, combat-focused variant on the Mr. Hatchet. Hell of a good thing to have on your side. His main downside is his enthusiasm for combat, which makes him a liability for stealth characters, but the same pretty much goes for all. As one of many recruitable robots throughout these games, Sergeant RL3 doesn't really stand out.
Crop's been growing pretty good lately.
Hey.
You want to do some trading?
I'll take a look, sure.
Let me know what you'd like.
Requires you to maintain neutral karma, which is easier said than done, as it requires players to vacillate between good and evil actions throughout the game, something that may not quite come naturally. Sergeant RL3 is worth his 1,000 cap asking price as a combat utility, but don't expect to get much out of travelling with him beyond that. Number 35, Dog Meat, Fallout 4. Fallout 4's Dog Meat is superior to his Fallout 3 counterpart based on the simple fact that he can survive a strong breed. But that's not the only difference. Dog Meat plays a crucial role in helping you track down your missing son, meaning he's actually integrated into the plot, a stark difference from the very missable companion in Fallout 3. What's more, you can give him adorable dog armor in this game, which I'm sure you'll agree makes him a good boy indeed. It's a little disappointing, though, that Fallout 4 throws a number of companions at you right out of the gate, or I suppose right out of the vault. If you follow the main questline, you'll meet Codsworth, Dogmeat, and Preston Garvey in quick succession, giving them little time to make individual impressions. Of the three, I think it's fair to say that Dogmeat is the poorest conversationalist, and his forced companionship makes his recruitment feel less significant than it did in the other games. Number 34, Old Longfellow, Fallout 4, Bar Harbor. Old Longfellow, the companion whose name writes its own jokes, was introduced in the Bar Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. The novelty of travelling with a post-apocalyptic pensioner is reason enough to recruit him, but he's also a valuable source of information about Bar Harbor, having spent so much time there. The reason he's relatively low on the list, though, is that his implementation feels a bit careless. When a player installs a new DLC, they're going to want to throw themselves into the experience, using the new weapons and travelling with the new companion. Even the story of Bar Harbor encourages you to keep Old Longfellow by your side, as the dangerous fog that coats the island makes it difficult to navigate without someone who knows the area. The problem here is that Bar Harbor is actually an important part of Nick Valentine's story. You can't travel with both at the same time. Travelling with Old Longfellow means you'll miss a large number of unique interactions and a lot of insight you would have had with Nick. Ironically, travelling with the DLC's unique companion actually has you missing out on a lot of the DLC's unique content, and that is unfortunate. Number 33, Jericho, Fallout 3. The moment players of Fallout 3 leave Vault 101, they see just how far civilization has fallen. The nearby settlement of Megaton both suggests that humanity can rebuild and underscores just how awful life is now. Jericho, one of the residents of Megaton, illustrates both halves of that equation perfectly. As a former raider, he has a history of murder, torture, theft, and God knows what else, but now, however, he helps protect Megaton and keep it safe from those who might wish to disturb his town. That makes it sound as though he's gone strength. Really? Contained a good amount of his old habits, and we can even learn to be told one of these unsuccessful. He's a pretty crappy guy, and the fact that he's our first recruitment in the game speaks volumes. For better or worse, Jericho is what humanity is now. They do terrible things or helpful things depending upon what serves their own interests. Jericho is good in a fight and is helpful for low-level characters, but it's hard to look at Jericho, the reality of what humanity has become, and not conclude that we could do better.
Number 32, Raul Tejada, Fallout New Vegas. In theory, Raul the Ghoul should be a riveting character. He survived the Great War, travelled from Mexico to the Amani, and seen society at its absolute worst. He also has both a history of gunslinger and an important skill of airman. In practice, though, Raul is surprisingly dull, uniquely working out what medically enslaved as Black
Identity
radio.
confirmed.
And if we
This
save
unit.
him from the insane disc jockey Tabitha, he's so powerful he'll tag along for our adventures. It isn't long, though, before we realise that voice actor Danny Trejo isn't playing a centuries-old gunslinger fool. He's playing voice actor Danny Trejo. There seems to be a major gap between Trejo's level of interest in a character and the level of interest a player is meant to feel. As Raul's personal quest doesn't involve anything more than talking to NPCs in his presence. Raul will begin to question his own direction in life and come to a definitive conclusion about his needs. A definitive conclusion then Raul with a speaking check. Not exactly a riveting character. Number 31, John Cassidy, Fallout 2. Like Sulik, who we've already discussed, John Cassidy was a victim of cut content in Fallout 2. Unlike Sulik, though, he's still a heck of an interesting companion. He's grizzled, scarred, and cursed with a serious heart condition he's unable to treat properly, but he's also a great guy with a strong sense of ethics. We meet him in Vault City, where he runs a tavern called the Saloon. We learned that guards conducted an unfounded raid on his business, confiscating his alcohol supply and arresting his customers. It's enough to convince us to move on, but please continue, as we've got space for someone with If we're thorough in our explorations, we might even find some heart pills for John, but they don't actually hold the business at all. It's been speculated that these would have been used before him in a stage of the personal quest that was tough, and while it's a shame we didn't help him and none of that makes him less than a welcome addition to our crew.
Getting this education, getting my master's, put me on a level that first of all respects the community, but also gives me
I suppose we should respect
Start your contact today at PoliceGlobal.com.
Scanner operating at 100. Vegas, though, gave us rest. Enemy presence detected. Attack imminent. As a surprisingly good backstory, moving patterns served as a bridge between Denver, Colorado, and areas of the concept for Fallout 3. So far, we've never visited Denver Fallout, but New Vegas does give us a chance to compare the fate. When we meet the poor old dog, barely held together by robotic implants, his aging brain is rapidly disabled. There is a doctor in our wasteland willing to do a transplant, and your choice of replacement brain will affect Rex's personality. In this end, Rex represents the most complex and on the list, which will not. Number 29, Davin and Maria, Fallout 2. Mordok is a town inhabited by interesting people, and one of the most interesting situations you find yourself in involves Davin, or Davin, and his sister Maria, or Neria. It's all very confusing. We're covering Davin and Maria together because they're similar in their stats and identical in their recruitment methods. Though which one you prefer is entirely up to you, as it involves using one them and being forced at gunpoint by their father to then marry them. This is a slightly different situation than with most companions, and it's nice that you can marry either sibling irrespective of your character's gender, but neither Gavin nor Maria are especially useful in combat. Gavin is a bit stronger and Maria is better with guns, but as with most shotgun weddings, you'll quickly go out. Thankfully, you have a number of options, from divorce to killing them, to harvesting their brains, to selling your spouse to slavers. Have we mentioned that Fallout 2 is a dark game? Fallout 2 is a dark game. Number 28, Ian. Fallout.
Got work to do.
Those who play the Fallout games in release order are quite likely to recruit Ian as their very
I just need to trade gear with you.
Sure thing.
That's for two reasons. Firstly, Ian resides in Shady Sands, which is invariably the first settlement players find in Fallout, as it's directly between their starting location of Vault 13 and their first destination, Vault 15. Secondly, recruiting him requires nothing more than handing him enough money. Ian is memorable for being an extremely character, effectively juggling the player's firepower right out of the gate and splitting the attention of the
Lost track of how
He's even seems to be strong, like to survive the entire game, as long as you exercise a fortune. Of course, it would be nice if Ian exercised some fortune himself. Likely due to his sloppy coding, Ian is extremely careless with firearms, especially first weapons, being very likely to gun down the player character and innocent bystanders while trying to attack hostiles. This unfortunate behaviour was ultimately recognised by the developers themselves, who retroactively made it part of his personality. In Fallout 2, which takes place 80 years later, you can have a conversation with an NPC about a legendary companion who just couldn't shoot straight. Number 27, Deacon, Fallout 4. Love them or hate them, the members of the Railroad are pretty easy to read. Their only true goal is to keep synths who have escaped from the Institute safe from the forces sent to retrieve them, which makes Deacon a notable standout. At first, he seems like a slightly cooler version of any other railroad agent, but soon informs you of a secret, that he's really the faction's leader, posing as a mere member in order to throw off his master. Actually, he was just lying. In reality, he's a synth, and he will give you his recall code as a gesture of good faith, pleading with you never to use it. Of course, you will use it, and when you do, you'll learn that that was a lie too.
I'm sure I have something you need.
Let's see what you have.
Here's what I've got.
Desdemona, the Railroad's actual leader, even suspects him of secretly being one of the group's founding members. The truth is that the tall tales he weaves are a defense mechanism to distance himself from his own violent past as a gang member and the memories of his murdered wife. In short, he's doing exactly what you do when you play a Fallout game, creating an identity and role-playing his way through life. Number 26, Ada, Fallout 4 Automatron. Moving on to an actual robotic companion in Fallout 4, Ada is genuinely one of the most useful and functional tag-alongs in the entire series. Of course, this is largely due to the fact that she's almost completely customizable. If you install the Automatron DLC, you'll gain access to a robot workbench, a wealth of options to construct your own robotic buddies from scratch. Ada advocated this to serve as a tutorial for robot customization, but she does have her own goals, that is, to hunt down whoever slayed the kind humans when she's travelling, and she leads us through one of the best quests in the entire game. Once we upgrade Ada and use her to infiltrate the lair of the Department's killer, we just might discover that this has all been a big misunderstanding, but not without also discovering just how capable Ada is against powerful foes, and learning that whatever our playstyle is, we can modify to customize. Number 25, Arcade Gannon, Fallout Vegas. One of the few genuinely good-hearted people in the entire wasteland, Arcade Gannon is right at home with the horrors of the apocalypse, a peaceful faction dedicated to medicine, knowledge, and preventing a repeat of the Great War that almost wiped out humanity. His wide range of knowledge can help you
Can't
bypass
remember the last
phases
time
of
I had
certain
clean
quests,
fingernails.
and his skills with medicine come in handy as well. He's also one of the few canonically gay characters in the series, which is a welcome exception to the rule. Dogs
I just
are
want to
made
trade a
down
few
as a
things.
pleasant
Of course.
and reliable guy to travel with, which makes it all the more disturbing.
Farm's not much.
Dispose of him in one of these ways.
Another day of
Rather
hard
than
work.
just killing him or
Never
selling him
changes.
to flavors, you can give him to Caesar, whose beliefs are methods he loathes, and force him to live the rest of his life as the despot's personal doctor. Number 24, K9, Fallout 2. The superior choice of robot dog companion in Fallout 2 is K9, the pet project of the Arkless Enclave scientist Dr. Schraber. At first, K9 just seems to be a broken or incomplete robotic dog, but thorough players will soon learn the truth. Dr. Schraber attempted to program advanced intelligence into his robot dog, which allowed it to also develop
Hope you ain't one of them synths.
The newly woke K9 did then not approve
Here to
of
spy
Dr. Schraber's inhumane experiments and voiced his displeasure. I mean, literally, as in the dog could talk. Did I not mention that? And Dr. Schraber disabled K9's movements as punishment. Now it stands motionless against the wall in Schraber's lab, forced to watch every unethical experiment unfold in real time. As they say, dogs are excellent judges of character, which means that we should execute Dr. Schraber on sight. And once we do, we can restore K9's mobility. Then, so long as our character doesn't have their own history of online behavior, we're free to take our talking robot dog for walkies. Or talkies. Walkie-talkies. Number 23, Codsworth, Fallout 4. Codsworth, a Mr. Handy robot, is one of a small number of characters you get to interact with both before and after the world ends. Prior to the apocalypse, he putters around your house performing basic tasks. After the apocalypse, he's pretty much doing the same thing. As a mass-produced robot, Codsworth doesn't have much in the way of a distinct personality. Just lost his or her home, family, and the world they once knew in what feels like one fell swoop. It's nice to see him again, and nicer still that he's willing to fight alongside you almost as soon.
Farming's as honest work gets.
Of course, none of this covers Codsworth's main selling point, the fact that his fully voiced dialogue allows him to verbally call you by name in conversation. Jump. The choice is yours, really. Number 22, Vic, Fallout 2. A chubby, balding trader and traitor, Vic is one of the earliest characters you'll meet following the main quest line of Fallout 2, and he's also one of the sturdiest companions. He has a high repair skill and is great with guns, making him a very valuable crew. He also has an interesting personal history, as he's a bit of a ladies' man. He was smitten with a resident of Bolt City and had a child with her, but preferred fighting for his life every day in the wasteland to settling down. Probably says something. But by the time we encounter him in the den, he has something going on with Jenny, one of the local customers. He does care about his daughter,
back to Diamond City one of these days.
Travel to reunite them, whereupon they get into an argument. But, you know, he tried. Vic isn't the most noble companion in the series. He's prison for knowingly selling faulty goods, but he's a good guy at heart, and he possesses exactly the kind of sliminess that we find endearing. Number 21, Star Paladin Cross, Fallout 3. The Brotherhood of Steel seems to follow the whims of its leadership more than it follows one consistent dogma. Leaders throughout the games have been focused on securing technology, on conquering regions, on isolationism, and in Fallout 3, on humanitarianism. Star Paladin Cross is that humanitarianism personified, dedicating her life and service to helping the people of the Capital Wasteland. She doesn't help in small ways either by providing country shelter or protection. She's involved in all stages of Project Purity, a large-scale water purification effort that could, without exaggeration, save humanity. She worked side by side with your celebrated father, James, arguably the only truly selfless human being in Fallout 3, and ferried both him and his child, that's you, to Vault 101, where you can be raised and cared for in safety. Now that you're older, she's still ready and willing to protect you as you go about completing your father's work. Number 2.
On FanDuel Casino, new players get up to $1,000 back and 200 bonus spins for the number 1 feeling, winning. That beats number 40. The feeling of finding something to watch before the sad ends.
20. Dog meat. Fallout. When it comes to ranking the pooches of the Fallout universe, you just can't beat the original dog meat. The imagery of a Fallout hero wandering the wasteland with his faithful mutt, which goes
coming in pretty good.
back to this very good boy from the first game. So admittedly, you meet him while he's being a very bad boy. Dogmeat is found in Junktown, terrorizing an innocent man named Phil and keeping him from entering his home. The reason is that Dogmeat is in a tizzy that his owner is dead. An inquisitive player can learn that his owner dressed a heck of a lot like Mel Gibson in Mad Max, and if you have or find a similar leather jacket, Dogmeat will leave Phil alone and begin following you instead. This original version of Dogmeat is actually resilient, and as long as you don't allow anyone to gang up on him, he stands a pretty good chance of making it a long way in the game. Dogmeat proved so popular with the developers and players that a canine companion was a recurring feature, specifically caring for Dogmeat's name. Number 19, Hancock, Fallout 4. The ghoul mayor of Goodweaver, Hancock has more of a history than you might expect. The brother of Donna of Diamond City, who implemented a zero-tolerance, no-ghoul policy, sending Hancock and many others in search of a new world. While Good Neighbor isn't the safest settlement today, it was far worse then, as it was run by a corrupt mobster who killed anyone who got in his way. Hancock overthrew him, seized control,
Wait there.
Good Neighbor
Come on.
a safer and more welcoming place for the wasteland outcast. One interesting thing is that Mayor McDonough is a Sith, and neither brother is human, and then the brother are from different
Shop's open. What do you want?
Hancock does have issues.
I've got a few minutes to browse.
A little bit of everything.
Having troublemakers in the street is one way he likes to keep order, but hey, nobody's perfect. Hancock is also the only romanceable ghoul companion in the whole series, and we don't know what could ensure a respectable placement on this list more than that. Number 18, Ed E, Fallout New Vegas. Fans of Fallout 3 likely recognize iBots as the cute little things flying around delivering less cute Enclave propaganda. They probably never seemed like something that could serve as a great companion, but Fallout New Vegas proved that at least one of them can. In a way, New Vegas can be seen as Ed E's story. In the game's trailer, we see him flying along a highway, getting shot several times by an off-camera sniper. Then, in the game itself, we learn the importance of that journey. Ed E was actually constructed in the capital wasteland all the way on the east coast. He's loaded with valuable technical data and dispatched to Navarro on the west coast. Thanks to that sniper in the trailer, though, he doesn't quite make it, and we find him in a state of disrepair in the small town of Prim. The Lonesome Road DLC, the last one released for New Vegas and arguably the climax of the Courier's story, involves Ed E quite heavily, with the companion being necessary at several points to progress through the divide. It can even end, depending upon your choices, with Ed E nobly sacrificing himself for the greater good.
Number 17, Kate, Fallout 4. You can recruit Kate in a brutal fighting establishment called the Combat Zone, which means you know up front that she can handle herself in a scrape. What you don't know is that Kate grew up in a physically and emotionally abusive home, with her own parents selling her into slavery. It was a harrowing enough experience that she turned to care, alcohol, fighting. She also tracked her parents down and killed them, which in this case, I'm sure you'll agree, qualifies as a good karma decision. It can be difficult to see Kate as a pleasant companion at first, as her brusque demeanour and hardened heart makes her seem to pair poorly with a wasteland hero, but when she starts to trust you enough to open up about her history, she becomes a much different character altogether. This is especially true after you complete her personal quest, which sees you escorting her to Vault 95, where you can use Vault-Tech's equipment to cure her addiction to chem. It turns the sight of one of Vault-Tech's most atrocious experiments into one of genuine healing. Number 16. Hyper, Fallout 4. Fallout 4 overall has a strong emphasis on rebuilding communities after hundreds of years of society going down the toilet, and much of that is reflected in the game's companion. Whether you're helping Kate rebuild her life without chem addiction, or helping Piper back into Diamond City so she can continue with her important work as the voice of the free press, you are helping society get back on its feet, one wastelander at a time. Unlike other examples, though, Piper's spirit doesn't seem to be in much danger of being but she's willing to go down to the limit, even when it means with her authority.
Yes? Yeah?
When you meet her, she's run afoul of Mayor McDonough, leader of the largest and safest community in the Commonwealth. Spanish and threatens to shut down the newspaper she runs, all but when underground hostility. Donna dismisses this as fake news whatsoever. Number 15. Tycho, Fallout. Players get roped into determining the outcomes of other people's conflicts in Fallout.
Seems to be growing well. Look alive.
Hey, it's good. Appropriately named Junktown. The conflict here is between Mayor Killian Darkwater and Crooked. In many cases throughout Fallout, the ethically correct choice isn't always clear. Here, though, it's a choice between a good-hearted man who wishes to keep his citizens safe and a sneering, evil doughboy who hires assassins to gun down anyone who stands in his way. If you do find yourself on the right side of the law with the intention of stopping Gizmo, you can recruit Tycho to your party. Tycho is heartened to hear of your desire to restore order to Junktown. Background of the Desert Ranger. We don't learn much about the Desert Rangers in this game, but they were a central focus of 1988 Wasteland, the spiritual predecessor to Fallout, and they would again play a major role in New Vegas. As such, Tycho serves as connective tissue between all three eras of Fallout history. Number 14. Butch DeLorean, Fallout 3. As easy as it is to despise Butch at the beginning of Fallout 3, it's easier to forget. Introduced as your childhood tormentor, Butch is a thorn in your side all throughout your time.
Look alive.
Start his own gang, the Tunnel Snake, seemingly for no other reason than to cause more problems for the other Vault dwellers. What a brilliant guy! Then, you leave the Vault. Massive spoilers, we know, sorry, and discover that compared to the truly monstrous residents of the Wasteland, Butch was something of a pussycat. A bit of an arse of a pussycat, but, still. Later in the game, you'll have an opportunity to return to Vault 101 and find it in the midst of a crisis. Should the Vault dwellers follow you into the Wasteland in the resolution of this crisis, you can find the woefully underprepared Butch drinking away his troubles in Rivet City. Recruiting him as a companion is almost an act of mercy. 1950 American research facade went to the hard land of troubles. We have to investigate. Take our former bully under our wing and start calling the shots for once. Number 13. Paladin Dance, Fallout 4. When you meet Paladin Dance, he is fanatically devoted to the Brotherhood of Steel. What Dance doesn't know is that he's actually a Sith. Doing a bit of espionage on behalf of the Brotherhood brings this truth to light and understandably puts the Brotherhood. What follows is a genuine personal crisis for Dance, who suddenly finds out has been a lie and it's just some data implanted into him by the Institute who he's always under. You're instructed by the Brotherhood to track down and execute Dance, leading to a fairly different decision. Some want you to do it, feeling so much loyalty to the Brotherhood that he'd side with them, even when it's typically, companions give you an edge along the way, but Paladin Dance is one of the very few who hear the sprinkles that you initially said straight through. Number 12. Cass, Fallout New Vegas. We meet the daughter of Fallout 2 companion John Cassidy in the Mojave Wasteland, inherited both her father's heart problems and his misfortune of business. Cass runs capacity caravans. If you're likely to interrupt the owner of the Crimson Caravan Company, asking you to speak her out the major of the forecast of experience and seemingly endless series of deaths. With Cass's help, we learned that the Crimson Caravan Company is behind a series of attempts to run other caravans out of the area. We can either side with Cass or betray her, but, we'll side with her, obviously, to avoid being repulsed every time we see ourselves. Hard-drinking, no-nonsense Cass represents New Vegas at its best, right down to the story mirroring. A tale of personal revenge playing out against a much larger backdrop of building. Everyone, both Side and Cass, have a great personality. Number 11. Boom. Fallout New Vegas. You first meet gifted sniper and foray enthusiast Craig Boom hiding out in a big dinosaur, which alone would earn him a list. In addition, though, he's extremely useful. He once served as a soldier in the NCR and took part in the Bitter Springs Massacre, a heinous event that explored information from all leadership of the battalion to slaughter a town of unarmed Permanently and understandably disturbed by his role in the massacre, he finds some semblance of happiness again when he meets and marries a woman. But because this is Fallout and happiness simply does not belong here, she is betrayed by a fellow resident Novak and sold as a slave. Lacking the firepower to rescue her but unable to abandon her to his fate, Boone shoots and kills Tara. We can help Boone exact revenge on the treacherous neighbor who ruined his life for the second time.
Coors Banquet, the same brewing tradition since 1873. Start your legacy.
Number 10. Sharon, Fallout 3. It's easy to feel sympathy for these non-feral ghouls in the Fallout universe. Thoroughly disfigured by radiation and any number of wasteland conflicts, they have retained their humanity and intelligence enough that they understand their status as lower class civilians. They're enslaved, mistreated, and marginalized by wastelanders who really should be working together if they ever intend to build a functional society. In the capital wasteland, non-feral ghouls have congregated settlements built within the remains. There that we meet poor Sharon, a ghoul in indentured servitude, another ghoul which must be Unlike most other Fallout 3 companions, Sharon is actually rather capable of combat, and recruiting him requires only flying out his contract with nasty bar owner Harvey. The moment he is no longer under agricultural employee, Sharon will walk over to him and shoot him to death to give you some idea of how the poor guy was treated. It's one of the most genuinely supportive moments in the Fallout New Vegas. Lily Bowen is a night king, a kind of super mutant created by the Master in the first Fallout game. She and a few other remnants of the Master relocate to the Mojave after this fall and start life anew, which is a lovely thought, especially for Lily, who was already 75 years old before she was mutated with the fourth evolution virus. Nightkin are almost uniformly more intelligent than standard super mutants, but they're also susceptible to mental illness, something another character believes is due to the Nightkin's frequent use of self-boy invisibility devices. During your travels, Lily will reminisce about her long-dead grandchildren, speak to a mysterious presence named Leo, who evidently tells her to do violent things. This is a result of the fact that she hasn't properly been taking her antipsychotics, and it makes for an unexpected ethical dilemma. Do you encourage her to take her medication, which keeps her free from Leo, but also dims the memories of her beloved grandchildren, or do you allow her to stay sick, but retain possession of the few memories that bring her joy? As with so much else in New Vegas, there is no correct answer, which we find as horrible as it is brilliant. Number 8. MacCready, Fallout 4. A number of familiar faces pop up in Fallout 4, but the most welcome has got to be MacCready, who we remember as the foul-mouthed child mayor of Little Lamplight in Fallout 3.
By the time we reconnect with him in the Commonwealth, he's a very different person. Though he's just as hard-nosed and mischievous, we can recruit this older version of McCready, and it's worth doing so. Years of mercenary work have allowed the young man to develop incredible marksmanship, to the point that we get an extremely handy perk after completing the quest, allowing us to more easily make headshots. He's a fun companion to travel with, but he isn't in the Commonwealth for no reason. After leaving the Lamplight, he met a woman named Lucy and had a child with her. They lived together until Lucy was killed in an attack by feral ghouls, and their son Duncan was taken ill by a mysterious disease. We can help McCready find a cure in our travels, but we nice. Work. Whatever happens, McCready is a changed man, even cleaning up his vocabulary so he won't pass his bad habit down to his son. All things considered, by Wasteland standards, McCready is a shoo-in for Father of the Year. And who wouldn't want to spend that time this year with a guy who surely our favourite of all the ghouls is the one who was adopted. Fallout 2, we actually came close. In that game, taking it with food death by decompression. Canonically, we repaired a water so that Necropolis would no longer need the water ship, saving both them and Vault 13. Lenny was one of the ghouls in Necropolis at that time, and he was so inspired by your heroic example that he set out into the wastelands to do some good of his own, regretting that he never asked us in Fallout 1 if he could tag along. When we meet him in Fallout 2, he knows best when to let the opportunity again, and he offers himself up as a companion. He's a great addition to the party, though it's a shame that plans to let him become a glowing one were eventually scrapped. We still haven't had a glowing one companion to this day. Number 6, Goris, Fallout 2. Goris is a talking Deathclaw. If you didn't think that alone was qualifying for our top 10, you're out of your mind. He's a resident of Vault 13, which may sound familiar, as that's exactly where we were in the previous game, and he uses the terminals there to study human history. As a budding Deathclaw sociologist, the subject is of great interest to him. Because he's only able to learn so much from terminals, Goris frequently travels the wasteland in pursuit of knowledge. To avoid being engaged in combat, though, he dresses in dark robes and claims to be disfigured, which, fortunately for him, is a unbelievable claim. Does reveal his true form in combat, though, tearing off his robe like a professional wrestler with the most impressive gimmick in the history of the sport. When someone plays any of these Fallout games for the first time and encounters a Deathclaw, without exception, their first thought is, I'd like to be friends with that thing and engage with it in measured conversation. And Goris, we're pleased to report, makes that dream true. Number 5, Fallout 3. When humans become superhumans due to exposure to the fourth evolutionary virus, it's almost always at the cost of their force, however, being locked away themselves, they years jealous and frightened of intelligence as luck. Trapped in Vault 87, shunned by the rest of his kind for not being an immoral violent monster, Force whiled away the years studying history, literature, science, and pretty much anything else he could find. He'd probably get on pretty well with Goris, to be honest. Of course, in time, the other two humans smashed the terminal to pieces just to upset him, because that's the kind of scallywags they are. But he finds them in Vault 87, who will not only help to retrieve the false professor and schedule level of radiation, but he will follow you into the wasteland, with 7 shades of promise going out of anything that gets away. Into Force is a small indication that humans started to recesses of horrors, some goodness, good found. Number 4, Fury, Fallout 4. Let's be clear right out the gate.
Seems to be growing well.
Is adorable. We find her in Vault 1, residents of this just can't say hey. The Overseer can bring himself to let it happen, though, and instead, he trying to resolve residents. When we show up, that seal is still in place, and by exploring, we can find Fury is a robot we programmed to serve a lab assistant, and when we find her, she is excited to begin researching the world properly outside the hole. Once we've reached the limit of what she can learn, based on she desires a more human body, which we can indeed provide to her by loading her consciousness.
Hey.
Not least because she's able to see the wasteland as something more than just a reminder of what humanity has lost. She's a fun companion for those who enjoy a bit of light humour in their adventures, and in her synth body, she's actually one of the most durable companions in the game.
And see, now my leg goes even more.
Number 3, Marcus, Fallout 2. Like Lenny, Marcus is another character we find out we nearly met in Fallout 1. Marcus was one of the Master's most loyal and dedicated students, and the death of the Master and destruction of the 4th evolutionary virus caused him great dismay. This isn't because Marcus is evil, but rather because he genuinely believed the Master was humanity's best hope for the future. Understanding and respecting his adversaries was something important to Marcus. After the Master's fall, he met and fought Jacob, a member of the Brotherhood of Steel. They both held their own so well in battle, though, that they stopped fighting out of respect and became close friends, often discussing civilization and philosophy together.
Hey.
They even founded the settlement of Broken Hills, which is where we meet Marcus acting as town sheriff. Marcus is an absolute powerhouse in battle, but he does tend to get too excited to realise he's gunning us down along with the bad guys. He also appears as a non-recruitable character in New Vegas, as founder of another settlement, Jacob, named after his old Brotherhood friend. Surely this is one of the most lovable things. Number 2,
Green.
At Grey Garden, the price is always right. Shall we make a deal?
Gotta be great.
The poor guy is one of the early models, and he's showing his age in the form of broken skin and exposed machinery. But he's one of the most trusted figures in the entire Commonwealth, and is always willing to go out of his way to help clients. Sadly for Nick, as much good as he does those who seek his services, he himself is haunted by the ghosts of the past. Nick Valentine has the memories of a pre-war police officer who was hot on the trail of crime boss Eddie Winter. Unamused by Nick's meddling in his affairs, Eddie killed his wife. Now in the post-apocalypse, this unfortunate robot carries the emotional and deeply personal pain of a wrong he can never correct. Nick's story is one of the best in the entire series, and it gets better with the Far Harbor DLC in which we meet his brother. If we choose to, and if Nick trusts us enough, we can work with him to find some degree of closure. But though it's a little difficult to swallow that both Winter and all of the crew needed to find him happened to survive the apocalypse, it's worth suspending disbelief for the sake of helping the detectives finally close the case.
Number 1. Veronica, Fallout New Vegas. Veronica is arguably the most grounded, realistic character in a game famous for its grounded and realistic.
Heads up.
Described with the Brotherhood of Steel, Veronica is walled off on all sides from what she wants. In fact, there's a literal wall as well, as Elder McNamara enforces a strict isolationist doctrine for this chapter of the Brotherhood. Veronica recognizes this correctly as an attitude that prevents the Brotherhood from accomplishing its mission of seeking out old-world technology, all but ensures that the faction will die out quickly. So far, she's been unable to convince them of this, and as a mere scribe, she doesn't have the authority to change his mind.
She could always leave the Brotherhood, but she feels a certain loyalty to them. She was born into the group, and they raised her after both of her parents were killed in battle. She doesn't remember the specifics of the battle, as whatever conflict was once important enough to make her an orphan doesn't even merit mention these days. The Brotherhood also forced her to split up with the one true love she's ever had, as the faction is not supportive of same-sex relationships. And Veronica doesn't know where her ex-partner is now, or if they would even remember her.
I don't know where she is now.
White.
Another admirer. Now,
While travelling with her, she'll speak of wanting to wear dresses, wanting to be an actress, wanting to live an entirely different life, but with only the very specialised skills the brother has taught her as a slide. There's more to the sadness in Veronica's heart, and you can add more to it if you play the Dead Money DLC and discover that her former mentor became a murderous monster.
Supervisor Green.
Veronica is a character for whom your decisions feel like they truly matter, and she's also the one we feel that most deserves.
So there we go. Every single Fallout companion ranks from worst to best.
Seems to be
Now
going
it's your
well.
secret duty to tell us your own
I need
favourites
to
and
assign
least
someone to
favourites
this.
in the comments below.
Also, if you have suggestions for other Every X ranked from worst to best videos, let us know. Maybe your idea in the future, and you will not be wrong.
Follow Triple Jump on Twitter here, and while you're at it, why not support the Thing to Enjoy by having a look.
Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.
Ben, and I'm Peter from Triple Jump, and thanks for watching.
Seems to be growing well.